Chapter 3078. Blood Evil Array. It's the Blood Evil Array. It seems that the blood prison assassins are on the move. Kong Xingyu's eyes were gloomy. When he saw Zhuowen, he saluted Zhuowen and said in a deep voice, "Blood prison assassins?" Zhuowen narrowed his eyes as a faintly discernible killing intent burst forth from the depths of his eyes. He was sure that he was the target of these blood prison assassins. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Several figures flew out of the blood evil array. The one in the lead was dressed in a gorgeous blood-red robe and had shoulder-length blood-red hair. However, this person's aura was extremely powerful, even more powerful than Kong Xingyu's. The second killer of the blood prison's 7 killers? Kong Xingyu's pupils shrank the moment he saw the man in the blood-red robe. The second killer's position in the blood prison was second only to the first killer. He was extremely powerful and should be at the middle stage of the Lord of Creation realm, 1 level stronger than Kong Xingyu. Moreover, the blood prison assassins were much stronger than ordinary practitioners. Kong Xingyu was probably no match for the second killer. The second killer slowly walked to the front of the blood prison assassins and stopped about 500 meters away from the flying divine device. He first glanced at Zhuowen, who was standing on one side of the deck, and then set his eyes on Kong Xingyu. Kong Xingyu said coldly, "Blood prison's second killer, why did you intercept the team of chasing Sun Temple? Could it be that you intend to go against our Sun chasing Temple?" The second killer's eyes were cold, and he said indifferently, "Elder Kong, we don't want to go against your chasing Sun Temple. The reason why we intercepted your flying divine device is because we want to ask for a person from you. As long as you hand over this person, we'll leave at once. We won't make things difficult for you." Kong Xingyu frowned slightly and said coldly, "Everyone here belongs to the chasing Sun Temple. Do you really think I'll give you a person from the chasing Sun Temple? Although the blood prison has many experts, it's not a Taoist palace level force. Do you really intend to go against our chasing Sun Temple?" The second killer said with a fake smile, "The blood prison is indeed not as powerful as the chasing Sun Temple, but your chasing Sun Temple may not find our base. Elder Kong, I'm not going to talk nonsense with you today. I only want this Zhuowen beside you. This Zhuowen isn't a member of your Sun chasing Temple, right? Taking him away will have no effect on your Sun chasing Temple." Kong Xingyu stared blankly. His gaze was strange. In fact, he already knew that Long Wen's real name was Zhuowen. That Long Wen should be an alias. Moreover, after Zhuowen left the Starry Sky battlefield with Shui Ri Temple, he had restored his appearance and no longer disguised himself. The reason why Kong Xingyu had a strange look on his face was because Second Kill dared to target Zhuowen. After all, this guy was a ruthless person who could control the Starry Sky Tower and single-handedly defeat the foreign race army. Even Senki Yin had suffered a great loss at the hands of Zhuowen. Even their sun-chasing temple wanted to befriend this person. Yet this blood prison's head had been squeezed. He actually wanted to take away Zhuowen. Wasn't this courting death? However, Kong Xingyu also knew that everything that happened in the Starry Sky Tower had not been long ago. The rumors about Zhuowen had not spread yet, so it was understandable that Blood Prison did not know about it. If Blood Prison knew about Zhuowen's feat in the Starry Sky Tower, even if he had a pig brain, he would not dare to take the initiative to provoke Zhuowen again. "What, you don't want to hand it over?" Second Kill looked a little impatient and looked coldly at Kong Xingyu, not concealing the strong killing intent in his eyes. Zhuowen did not speak and just stood quietly in place. Kong Xingyu knew that Zhuowen wanted to see his attitude. If he wanted to be a third party, then Zhuowen would definitely not get close to their sun-chasing temple in the future. No. Kong Xingyu made a decision and refuted Second Kill. "Good, good, good. Then I will kill you all today. Elder Kong, don't blame me for being ruthless. You asked for it. Do it." Second Kill was very decisive. As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed out like a bolt of lightning toward Kang Xingyu. Behind him, dozens of blood prison killers rushed out silently, like the most loyal soldiers who would only obey orders. "Let's go!" Kang Xingyu gritted his teeth and led the sun-chasing temple's cultivators to meet them. Jiang Qixing also intended to follow, but he was stopped by Zhuowen. "Brother Jiang, accompany me to watch a good show first," Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Jiang Qixing glanced at Zhuowen, hesitated for a moment, and then nodded. He knew that Zhuowen wanted to see Kang Xingyu's attitude. If Kang Xingyu really wanted to invite Zhuowen, he would certainly do his best to fight against the enemy. The blood prison killers and the sun-chasing temple's cultivators soon fought, and the aftermath of the battle spread out like a mighty wave. Although the number of people on both sides was about the same, it was obvious that the fighting strength of the blood prison was much stronger, and the sun-chasing temple was forced to retreat. Jiang Qixing could not sit still. Zhuowen pulled him again and said, "Brother Jiang, it's time for you to watch my performance." With that, Zhuowen took out the Ho-I Divine Bow and Ho-I Divine Arrow. He pulled the string of the Ho-I Divine Arrow to a full moon and pointed the arrow at Second Kill, who was suppressing Kang Xingyu. Whoosh! The divine arrow, with a peerless killing intent, cut through the void and soon arrived in front of Second Kill. Second Kill was attacking Kang Xingyu crazily, and Kang Xingyu was almost out of breath. But soon he felt that something was wrong. An extreme killing intent swept over him, which made his scalp tingle and his whole body break out in cold sweat. He saw a divine arrow with a peerless killing intent sweep in front of him in an instant, and then, under his incredulous gaze, it drilled into his chest. This divine arrow was so terrifying that he could not even think of resisting. When his body was torn apart and shattered, his mind was filled with fear, and he screamed in horror. However, his scream did not last long. His whole body was torn into a cloud of blood mist, but Second Kill's divine soul was very powerful. The moment his body was destroyed, he immediately escaped. Unfortunately, Zhuowen had been waiting for this moment. With a wave of his sleeve, he wrapped and sealed Second Kill's divine soul. Kang Xingyu hurriedly retreated. Looking at Second Kill, who had completely turned into a cloud of blood mist, he breathed a sigh of relief and quickly bowed gratefully to Zhuowen on the deck. If it weren't for Zhuowen's support, he would have been seriously injured by Second Kill. After killing two of them, Zhuowen took out one creation-grade divine arrow after another from his great world and fired one arrow after another. The terrifying divine arrows cut through the sky and shot straight out, killing the blood prison killers one after another. Chapter 3079. One kill. Many thanks for Senior Long's help. Kang Xingyu hurriedly came to Zhuowen's side, a flattering smile on his face as he expressed his gratitude to Zhuowen. Zhuowen nodded. Then, with a flip of his right hand, Second Kill's divine soul appeared in his palm. Second Kill's expression was ferocious as he stared at Zhuowen and constantly shouted, "Zhuowen, I really didn't expect you to have such a terrifying divine artifact, but your strength is too weak. Now that you have provoked our blood prison, you will never have a day of peace." Zhuowen's eyes were calm as he said, indifferently, "I don't want to have a day of peace, but your blood prison. Tell me, where is the blood prison station?" Second Kill's face became even more ferocious as he laughed. "You think too much? You want me to tell you where the blood prison station is? Do you think that's possible? I have my own way." Zhuowen's eyes were indifferent as he pressed his right hand on Second Kill's divine soul and immediately grasped it, causing Second Kill to scream miserably. Zhuowen coldly snorted, and with a twist of his right hand, Second Kill's screams came to an abrupt end. His eyes were blank, as if he had lost his mind. Immediately after, Zhuowen forcibly extracted the memories of Second Kill's divine soul, and after examining them, his eyes were filled with coldness. The blood prison was really cunning. They actually placed the blood prison's encampment in a dimensional space. The heavenly Tao laws in this space weren't complete, so the effect of cultivation was much worse than the outside world. The blood prison lord's attack was really bold. It was no wonder that so many forces in the host territory couldn't find the blood prison station. Brother Long, are you planning to go to the blood prison station? Jiang Qixing saw Zhuan's actions and guessed Zhuan's intentions, so he couldn't help asking. Yes, it's not the first time the blood prison has provoked me. Before, I wasn't strong enough, so I didn't want to cause trouble for the blood prison. But now it's different. Brother Jiang and Elder Kong, if you can't wait, you can leave first. As long as you give me the address of the sun-chasing temple, I'll go there directly. Zhuo Wen looked at Kong Xingyu and Jiang Qixing and said softly. Jiang Qixing could only nod. He took out a jade slip from his spirit ring and handed it to Zhuo Wen. This jade slip records the exact location of the sun-chasing temple. After taking the jade slip, Zhuo Wen cupped his hands at Jiang Qixing, and with a stomp of his right foot, he disappeared on the spot. Qisheng, you don't have to worry too much. Senior Long's strength is far beyond our imagination. He easily killed Double Killer. Although First Killer is stronger than Double Killer, there's a limit to his strength. He shouldn't be a match for Senior Long, Kong Xingyu said to Jiang Qixing. Jiang Qixing nodded. He wasn't too worried about Zhuo Wen. He knew Zhuo Wen's strength better than Kong Xingyu. Elder Kong, let's go first. Jiang Qixing returned to his room. Zhuo Wen sat on the space-time wheel and entered the space-time tunnel. He passed through one space-time tunnel after another, moving forward according to Double Killer's memory. The blood prison's encampment was quite far away from him. It would take at least half a month for Zhuo Wen to enter that dimensional space. Since he had half a month, Zhuo Wen naturally wouldn't waste it. He planned to try to refine a Genesis grade divine pill. If he could successfully refine a Genesis grade divine pill, then he could smoothly become a Genesis grade alchemist. In the room of the space-time wheel, Zhuo Wen looked at the Pill Emperor cauldron in front of him. There were various divine herbs piled up next to the cauldron. The surface of the divine herbs emitted a sparkling light, indicating that these divine herbs were extraordinary. The Pill Emperor turtle was lying in a pile of divine herbs, bored to death. It rolled its eyes and looked at Zhuo Wen. Finally, it muttered something like, "Hurry up and refine the pill." Zhuo Wen knew that he had to be calm before refining the pill, so he adjusted his state of mind to the calmest level before refining the pill. Finally, Zhuo Wen opened his eyes. With a flip of his right hand, a burst of divine flame surged out and shot into the bottom of the Pill Emperor cauldron. Then he slapped the lid of the Pill Emperor cauldron, and the lid flew up. Zhuo Wen's right hand orderly placed the divine herbs piled up next to him into the cauldron. After putting all the divine herbs into the cauldron, Zhuo Wen closed the lid and focused on controlling the divine flame. This time he was refining a Genesis grade divine pill called the 7 Lives Healing Sword Pill. This Genesis grade divine pill was one of the more basic Genesis grade divine pills. It was also one of the easier Genesis grade divine pills to refine. Whether it was the technique or the divine herbs, they weren't particularly complicated. 3 days later, the Pill Emperor cauldron suddenly emitted a muffled sound. Immediately, plumes of black smoke drifted out of the cauldron lid. The Pill Emperor tortoise, who was lying not far from the Pill Emperor cauldron, drooped its head and said with some disappointment, "It looks like the refinement failed this time." Zhuo Wen wasn't discouraged. After all, this was his first time refining a Genesis grade divine pill. It was normal for him to fail. In any case, there were many medicinal herbs for the 7 Lives Healing Sword Pill in his great world. He could afford to fail many times. Taking out another set of 7 Lives Healing Sword Pill herbs, Zhuo Wen threw them into the cauldron one by one, ignited the divine flame again, and began to focus on refining. Second failure. Third failure. After Zhuo Wen failed for the 5th time, a look of enlightenment appeared in his eyes. However, he didn't continue refining. Instead, He put away the pill emperor cauldron. I say, Zhuowen, why don't you continue refining? Your chances of success next time are very high. The pill emperor tortoise hurriedly said, We've arrived at the Blood Prison's encampment. Let's talk about it after I deal with the Blood Prison's one kill. Zhuowen stood up and put the pill emperor tortoise into his great world. After that, he disappeared from the room. This was a huge blood-colored palace. It floated in the depths of the void dimension like rootless duckweed. At this moment, there were 7 blood-colored thrones in the depths of the blood-colored palace. However, among these 7 thrones, only the centermost throne still had a blood-colored figure sitting on it. The remaining 6 blood thrones were empty. The blood-robed figure sitting on the centermost throne was the master of the blood prison. 1 kill of the blood prison's 7 kills. 1 kill was dressed in a blood-colored robe and wore a sinister, blood-colored mask. His exposed eyes were filled with a sinister, blood-red color. Even 2nd kill has fallen? What's going on? 1 kill's eyes contained fury, and his voice was suppressed and terrifying. He really couldn't understand why a mid-stage Lord of Creation like 2nd kill had fallen while trying to kill a cultivator who hadn't even reached the 3rd step of Tao validation. Was Zhuowen really that strange? Speaking of which, among the 7 kills sent by the blood prison, other than 1 kill, the other 6 had been sent to deal with Zhuowen. However, all of them had fallen without exception. Soft footsteps suddenly rang out in the empty blood-red hall. 1 kill raised his head and looked at a figure walking over from the end of the corridor. Chapter 3080. Breaking through, the middle-aged man came before the throne, knelt on 1 knee, and said in a deep voice, Wu Hin greets Lord First Kill. First Kill glanced at Wu Hin Shui and nodded. Wu Hin Shui stood up and looked at First Kill on the throne uneasily. He did not know why First Kill suddenly ordered him to come over. Wu Hin, I heard you say that Zhuowen came from the 8 heavens. First Kill looked at Wu Hin Shui and asked casually, That's right. Back then, I was sealed in a secret realm in the 8 heavens. Later, Zhuowen broke into the place where I was sealed. I schemed against him and escaped. However, at that time, Zhuowen had not even reached the Tao confirming realm. In my eyes, he was just an ant that I could kill with a wave of my hand. I did not care about him at all. Wu Hin Shui answered carefully, Not even at the Tao confirming realm? How long has it been? Why is Zhuowen's cultivation speed so fast? It's unbelievable. First Kill frowned, finding it hard to believe. Lord First Kill, I think that Zhuowen must have some big secret. Otherwise, how could he cultivate so fast? It goes against common sense. Wu Hin Shui hurriedly echoed. Wu Hin, 2nd Kill, is dead. Moreover, he died after going to assassinate Zhuowen. 1 kill, suddenly said. Traceless Blood's body trembled. He jerked his head up, his eyes filled with disbelief. When 2nd Kill was sent out, Wu Hin Shui knew, but he did not know who 2nd Kill was going to assassinate. When he came to the hall today, he was surprised that 2nd Kill did not appear. It had been half a month, and the assassination mission could not have lasted for so long. Now he got the news that 2nd Kill was dead, and it was because of the assassination of Zhuowen. Was it done by Zhuowen? Wu Hin Shui trembled, his voice filled with disbelief. It should be. I originally thought that 2nd Kill was enough to kill Zhuowen, but now it seems that I was wrong. This boy has already become a legend. First Kill's voice was somewhat helpless, and he continued, In the future, our blood prison will not provoke Zhuowen anymore. This kid is no longer someone our blood prison can afford to provoke. When Traceless Blood heard the helplessness in 1 Kill's tone, his gaze became even more complicated. He recalled the scene when he first met Zhuowen in the 8 heavens. At that time, he looked at Zhuowen as if he was looking at a funny ant. Zhuowen was so weak that he could kill him with a wave of his hand. But now this guy, who is nothing more than an ant in his eyes, had killed 6 of the blood prison's 7 killers, and the strongest one, the first killer, had said that he didn't want to provoke Zhuowen because the first killer was afraid of Zhuowen. The affairs of the world are truly unpredictable. Traceless Blood sighed softly in his heart, lamenting that the wheel of fortune had turned too quickly. You didn't intend to provoke me, but I didn't say that I would spare you. Suddenly, a great voice rang out from outside. It passed through the palace and enveloped the surroundings of the blood-red palace. It rang out loudly like a great bell. The faces of One Kill and Traceless Blood changed dramatically. One Kill stood up abruptly, his figure flashed, and the dome of the palace shattered. A giant energy hand stretched out from the gap in the broken dome and slammed into the place where One Kill was standing. The throne was completely smashed into powder, falling apart into pieces. Above the gap in the dome, a figure slowly descended and finally landed on the throne that had already turned into ruins. Both One Kill and Traceless Blood's eyes fell on the figure standing on the ruins, and their faces changed at the same time. Zhuowen, the two said in unison. The figure that descended from the sky was indeed Zhuowen. At this moment, Zhuowen's eyes were as cold as a knife. The moment he found the blood-red palace, he found that there were very few blood prison killers in the palace, and there was no spirit array on the surface. So he immediately broke in. Zhuowen also knew why there was no spirit array to protect the blood-red palace. In this dimensional space, the laws of heaven were incomplete. Even if there was a powerful spirit array set up in the blood-red palace, it could not exert much power. Whoosh! Whoosh! The moment Zhuowen broke the dome in the depths of the blood-red palace, it completely alarmed the entire blood prison. Streaks of blood-red light swept out from the surroundings of the blood-red palace and rushed into the broken dome. If one looked carefully, these streaks of blood-red light turned out to be blood prison killers. Hundreds of blood prison killers rushed into the broken dome like a blood-red torrent and rushed straight down toward Zhuowen below. Zhuowen stood in the ruins, his eyes as cold as a knife. Streaks of sparkling light emerged from his body, as if his body was forged from some kind of rare glass. Zhuowen formed a hand seal with both hands and used the profound skill, Sky-Opening Blade. 2 white blades of air that were one. 2 meters long appeared in his palms. Bang! Zhuowen leaped and waved his hands. Suddenly, a stream of blade light burst out. The milky white light overshadowed the blood-red torrent formed by hundreds of blood prison killers in one fell swoop. Pucci! Pucci! The blood prison killers fell from the torrent one after another, fell to the ground, and turned into stiff corpses and remained motionless. When One Kill and Traceless Shui saw the scene, their faces were extremely unsightly. Zhuowen's strength was somewhat beyond their imagination. Hundreds of blood prison killers joined forces, but they were completely crushed. We can't let him continue to kill. One Kill snorted coldly. Looking at the continuously decreasing blood-red torrent, his heart was bleeding. It must be known that the blood prison had spent a lot of effort to cultivate these elite killers. Now, these elite killers who had been cultivated for many years were constantly decreasing like wheat harvested in autumn. How could One Kill bear such a loss? One Kill made his move. One Kill stomped his feet and shot out like a cannonball. At the same time, waves of blood-red energy gushed out of the pores all over One Kill's body, condensing into an endless river of blood. This river of blood started from One Kill's body, and the end point of the river of blood was constantly being derived. The direction of the river of blood's derivation happened to be the direction where Zhuowen was. Zhuowen instantly killed 2 blood prison killers who wanted to kill him. He also noticed the river of blood released by One Kill. The river of blood was getting closer and closer, like a surging tide during high tide. It was very fast and had the momentum to overturn rivers and seas. Zhuowen didn't dare to be careless. One kill's strength was much stronger than that of the second kill. His cultivation should be at the late stage of the Lord of Creation realm, so Zhuowen didn't dare to be careless. Although his Pangu's sacred body had advanced to the late stage 6-star realm, his strength was actually not weaker than that of an ordinary late stage Lord of Creation. However, one kill was obviously not an ordinary late stage Lord of Creation. His strength was also much stronger than that of an ordinary late stage Lord of Creation. If Zhuowen faced him head-on, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Chapter 3081. Secrete in the past, Zhuowen was not strong enough, so it was difficult for him to draw the Ho-Yi Divine Bow. However, since the level of his Pangu's sacred body became higher and higher, it became easier for him to draw the Ho-Yi Divine Bow. Now he could draw the bowstring of the Ho-Yi Divine Bow to its tightest state in the blink of an eye. Whoosh! The blood river was very fast. The moment Zhuowen drew the bowstring to its fullest, it arrived in front of Zhuowen. The blood river was extremely huge, like an ancient blood python. Under the blood river, Zhuowen was as small as an ant. However, Zhuowen's expression was terrifyingly calm. He gently loosened his fingers. With a whoosh, the Ho-Yi Divine Arrow turned into a blood-red light and rushed out with a terrifying killing intent. Boom! The Ho-Yi Divine Arrow was too terrifying. The moment it entered the blood river, it immediately stirred up a large amount of blood water. The entire blood river began to tremble violently. Scattered drops of blood splashed out. These drops of blood fell to the ground, forming a misty blood rain. Wherever the Ho-Yi Divine Arrow passed, the blood river collapsed and turned into countless blood foam. The deeper the Divine Arrow went, the more the blood river collapsed. After a while, the Divine Arrow reached the end of the blood river. At this moment, the entire blood river collapsed and exploded into countless blood-red raindrops, falling from the sky. One kill's expression changed drastically. He did not expect that his strongest attack would actually be broken so easily. However, the Divine Arrow was too fast. He did not have time to be shocked. He immediately flew back, trying to avoid the Ho-Yi Divine Arrow. However, one kill soon found that his continuous retreat was completely futile. The killing intent of the Ho-Yi Divine Arrow was too terrifying. It had completely locked onto him. No matter how he dodged or how many angles he changed in midair, it was all in vain. He had been locked onto by the Ho-Yi Divine Arrow. The only thing he could do now was to block the Divine Arrow with all his strength. Thinking of this, one kill's eyes revealed a trace of ruthlessness. As he retreated, he kept accumulating energy, condensing it into a thick, blood-red shield in front of him. As one kill continued to pour his energy into the blood-red shield, the blood-red color on the surface of the shield became brighter and more viscous. Zhuowen stood quietly in the distance. When he saw first kill's actions, the corners of his mouth curled into a sneer. To him, killing with one strike was simply courting death. When Ho-Yi's godly arrow was at its most powerful state, it could kill any cultivator below the level of Lord Skirich with a single arrow. Even though this attack was extraordinarily powerful, it was still like a mantis trying to stop a chariot when faced with Ho-Yi's godly arrow in its most powerful state. Rumble. After first kill prepared what he believed to be his strongest defense, Ho-Yi's divine arrow finally landed on the blood-red shield, howling like a furious dragon. You must block it. This was the thought that flashed through one kill's mind the moment the divine arrow landed on his shield. But soon his heart turned cold. The blood-red shield that he had painstakingly set up was like a piece of paper in front of the divine arrow, instantly shattering into pieces. As for that divine arrow, it continued to grow larger and larger before his eyes. When the divine arrow was released to the maximum, he felt an intense pain in his forehead. Then his vision turned black and he lost consciousness. Plop! Looking at one kill's body, which had been pierced through by Ho-Yi's divine arrow and fell to the ground, Zhuowen's eyes were cold and emotionless. There were only a few blood prison killers left in the surroundings, and they all froze. The Lord of Blood Prison, one of the 7 killers, was an invincible existence in their hearts. But now he had died in front of them. Moreover, he was killed by someone else. The remaining blood prison assassins no longer attacked Zhuowen. Instead, they began to flee in panic, no longer having the slightest fighting spirit in their hearts. Zhuowen did not pay attention to the fleeing blood prison assassins. Instead, he looked at Traceless Blood, who was also preparing to escape. Traceless Blood also noticed that Zhuowen was looking at him. His whole body trembled as he knelt on the ground and said to Zhuowen, "Lord Zhuowen, this assassination has nothing to do with me. I beg you to spare my life." Zhuowen was indifferent. Looking at Traceless Blood, who was kneeling in front of him, he felt a little emotional. When he first met Traceless Blood in the 8 heavens, Traceless Blood was an expert of the 2nd step of the Tao confirming realm. He was absolutely the strongest in the 8 heavens, an existence that could crush all the heavenly lords. At that time, Zhuowen hadn't even reached the Tao confirming realm. He could only look up to Traceless Blood. Even when Traceless Blood tricked him, he didn't dare to say a word, for fear that Traceless Blood would find an excuse to kill him. But now the tables had turned. Traceless Blood, who he looked up to in the past, was now kneeling in front of him, wagging his tail and begging for mercy. "I haven't settled the debt with you for the 8 heavens. Last time, you brought 3 killers to kill me. Do you think I let you go so easily?" Zhuowen said expressionlessly. Traceless Blood's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly prostrated himself on the ground and said, "Lord Zhuo, I have a secret to share with you. I only beg you to spare my life. Tell me, if this secret is valuable, it can be exchanged for your life." Zhuowen said, rubbing his fingers. Traceless Blood bowed again, and quickly said, "Over the years, the blood prison assassins have killed countless people and obtained countless treasures at the same time. In this dimensional space, the heavenly Tao rules are not perfect, but the blood prison can constantly cultivate powerful blood prison assassins, and the blood prison's 7 killers all have extraordinary cultivation. Didn't Lord Zhuo suspect this?" Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. Zhuowen did suspect what Traceless Blood said, but he didn't think too much about it. Now that Traceless Blood took the initiative to mention it, Zhuowen couldn't help but start thinking. "It seems that the secret you mentioned should be related to this phenomenon." Zhuowen said, "Yes. The reason why the blood prison can drift in the dimensional space and cultivate normally here is mainly because of a stone." Traceless Blood revealed a flattering smile and continued, "The stone is hidden in a secret room at the bottom of the blood prison. If Lord Zhuo is interested, I can take you to see it." Zhuowen still rubbed his fingers and didn't immediately agree. The long silence made Traceless Blood a little uneasy, and he could only reluctantly show a smile. "Take me to see it," Zhuowen said in a flat voice. "Okay, Lord Zhuo, just follow me." Traceless Blood was overjoyed when he saw Zhuowen agree. He immediately led Zhuowen deeper into the blood prison. This was a rather simple secret room. It was very closed and very humid. On the surface of the surrounding rock walls, water often dripped and fell to the ground, making a crisp sound. Zhuowen and Traceless Blood stood at the entrance of the secret room and looked at the center of the room. There was a simple stone table in the center of the room. Chapter 3082. Mysterious stone. This stone was very ordinary. It was grayish-black in color, and apart from its surface being as smooth as a mirror, it was no different from an ordinary stone. Zhuo slowly walked to the front of the stone table and stopped 1/2 meter away. Within 1/2 meter of the stone table, a bright and colorful energy barrier appeared, blocking Zhuo when outside of it. On the surface of the barrier, ripples appeared, the result of Zhuowen touching it. "Was this restriction set up by your blood prison?" Zhuowen turned his head and looked at Shui Wuhan, who was still trembling behind him. No, this restriction was formed by the stone itself. Lord First Kill is the strongest array master in the blood prison, and his array Dao has reached the Genesis realm, but he was unable to break the restriction on the surface of this stone. Xue Wuhan honestly explained, also, the reason why the blood prison was built in the void dimension with incomplete heavenly Dao laws is mainly because of this stone. What a mysterious stone! Xue Wen's eyes revealed a look of surprise. The moment he entered the blood prison palace, he felt that it was different. In the void dimension, the heavenly Dao laws were incomplete, and logically speaking, the blood prison palace should be the same. But this was not the case. The heavenly Dao laws in the blood prison palace were complete and even richer than those in the outside world. Previously, he had doubts in his heart, but now he finally understood why the blood prison palace's laws were so complete and could even be said to be rich. It was because of this ordinary-looking stone in front of him. What is the origin of this stone? Zhuowen's eyes were filled with surprise as he blurted out. Xue Wuhan revealed a bitter smile and shook his head. I don't know. Even the founder of the blood prison palace did not recognize the origin of this stone. He only knew that this stone can make up for the flaws of the heavenly Dao laws. It is extremely mysterious. Zhuowen's expression was solemn. The heavenly Dao laws could be said to be the highest laws in this starry sky. When the starry sky was first opened, the heavenly Dao laws had already been born, planning the various laws and trajectories of the starry sky. It was something even more ancient than Pangu. He had never heard of anything that could make up for the flaws of the heavenly Dao laws, but this ordinary-looking stone in front of him had done it, and he realized that this stone was not simple. Lord Zhuo, this stone has an unusual origin. Feel free to take it. I also know the location of the blood prison's treasury. I can tell you all of this. I just hope that Senior Zhuo can let me live. Traceless Blood revealed a fawning smile, his voice trembling. Tell me the location of the blood prison treasury, and you can leave. Zhuowen did not intend to make things difficult for Xue Wuhan. The enmity between him and Traceless Xue wasn't that great, and now that he had destroyed the blood prison, Traceless Xue wouldn't be so stupid as to seek revenge in the future. Xue Wuhan bowed repeatedly, took out a jade slip, and told Zhuowen that the jade slip recorded the specific location of the blood prison treasure vault. Then he quickly left. Zhuowen ignored Traceless Blood. Instead, he summoned Xiaohe and gave the jade slip to Xiaohe, telling him to go to the blood prison treasury to investigate. He wanted to stay behind and try to take away the mysterious stone. Boom! 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 Zhuowen's body exuded a crystal-clear light, and a majestic aura erupted from him. In just an instant, he had thrown out thousands of punches. Each punch contained a terrifying power that could shake the heavens and earth. Within 1/2 meter of the stone table, dense ripples appeared, as if countless stones had been thrown into the water. Zhuowen took a few steps back and stared at the barrier that still existed in front of him with a dignified expression. The strength of the barrier on the surface of the stone table was somewhat beyond his expectations. His all-out attack was actually unable to weaken the restriction in the slightest. Zhuowen stood where he was with a frown on his face. He had tried to use formations to break the restriction, but he realized that the restriction was very strange. Even with his level, he was unable to decipher the specific structure and process of the formation. I wonder if the True Alchemy Array record has records of this strange barrier. Zhuowen took out the True Alchemy Array record, opened the Spirit Array chapter, and began to carefully read the contents. The True Alchemy Array record recorded the refining methods of many pills and spirit arrays, so it was very broad. Ever since Zhuowen obtained the True Alchemy Array record, he had been studying it, but he still hadn't completely understood this book. Zhuowen knew that once he completely understood this book, his alchemy skills would most likely reach the level of transcending heaven grade. Soon, Zhuowen saw a description of this spirit array on one of the pages of the Spirit Array chapter. It turned out that this spirit array was called the Guardian Vajra array. It was a good fortune grade spirit array, but the difficulty of breaking it was second to none among all good fortune grade spirit arrays. If it were an ordinary good fortune grade spirit array, Zhuowen could barely break it by relying on the profound Hongmeng limitless. However, this Guardian Vajra array was obviously not an ordinary good fortune grade spirit array, so Zhuowen was helpless. Fortunately, the True Alchemy Array chapter mentioned the weakness of this Guardian Vajra array, as well as the method to break it. Zhuowen started to break the Guardian Vajra array according to the method in the True Alchemy Array record. What surprised him was that he only spent 2 hours to break the Guardian Vajra array. After breaking the Guardian Vajra formation, Zhuowen reached out with his right hand and grabbed the stone on the stone table. A warm current flowed out from the mysterious stone. The warm current carried a mysterious energy, and the moment it entered Zhuowen's body, it rushed to the depths of his mind. Zhuowen's body shook, and a look of enlightenment involuntarily appeared in his eyes. He felt that his perception, with the help of that mysterious energy, was infinitely magnified and had undergone a qualitative change. Many of the doubts and questions he had in the past were suddenly enlightened at this moment, and all the difficult and complicated illnesses suddenly came to a realization. Zhuowen immediately sat on the spot and took out the Emperor Pill Furnace and a set of herbs for the 7 lives healing sword pill from the outside world. He began to methodically throw the herbs into the Emperor Pill Furnace and ignite the divine fire. His movements were as smooth as moving clouds and flowing water. The Pill Emperor Turtle looked at all of this with a dumbfounded expression. But when it saw Zhuowen refining the 7 lives healing sword pill again, its eyes revealed a look of ecstasy. This guy has finally been enlightened. Previously, I advised him to refine the 7 lives healing sword pill again. But this fellow is simply stubborn and insists on going to the blood prison for revenge first. Now that he has taken his revenge, he finally plans to refine it again. I hope the refining this time will be successful. The Pill Emperor Turtle rubbed its hands in a very human-like manner, and a slight smile appeared on its face, looking very annoying. 3 days later, white smoke began to billow from the Emperor Pill Furnace's lid. Accompanying the white smoke was an extremely rich medicinal fragrance. Chapter 3083. Tao Discussion Conference. Looks like I'm about to succeed. The Elixir Emperor Turtle laughed foolishly. Then he saw that Zhuowen had stood up and slapped the lid of the cauldron with his right hand. Instantly, 12 stars flew out of the cauldron. Each star represented a 7 lives healing sword pill. The Elixir Emperor Turtle took out a jade bottle from its shell and put the 12 7 lives healing sword pills into it. This Zhuowen is really not bad. It's his first time refining a Genesis Divine Pill, and he can actually refine a special grade Divine Pill. What a monster. The Elixir Emperor Turtle closed the bottle happily. The moment it put the divine pills away, it had already sensed that the quality of these 12 7 lives healing sword pills was shockingly high. After putting away the jade bottle, the Elixir Emperor Turtle thought that Zhuowen would stop there. However, it realized that Zhuowen didn't stop the divine fire under the cauldron. Instead, the divine fire burned even brighter. At the same time, Zhuowen took out another set of herbs from the great world. The Elixir Emperor Turtle's eyes widened the moment it saw this set of herbs. It recognized this set of herbs. It was the main ingredient for refining the Supreme Meteor Dragon Pill. This Supreme Meteor Dragon Pill wasn't an ordinary divine pill. It was a creation divine pill. In other words, Zhuowen had just successfully refined a Genesis grade divine pill and became a Genesis grade formation Tao Divine Master. This guy immediately started refining the transformation divine pill and didn't even stop in the middle. This guy was going to defy the heavens. The Pill Emperor Turtle originally wanted to persuade Zhuowen, but after seeing the serious and focused look in Zhuowen's eyes, it abruptly stopped itself from blurting out any words of advice. Let this guy fall once. Only then will he learn his lesson. I've never heard of anyone advancing twice in a row while refining a divine pill. Moreover, he succeeded both times. The Elixir Emperor Turtle shook its head. It felt that Zhuowen's refinement was too risky. It was impossible for him to succeed. The light in Zhuowen's eyes grew brighter. He began to toss the herbs of the Wushang Meteor Dragon Pill into the Monarch Pill Cauldron, one by one. The divine flame was set to the maximum. Time ticked by, and the Pill Emperor Turtle was dumbfounded. This was because, in the process of refining the Supreme Meteor Dragon Pill, Zhuowen actually did not make a single mistake. Every movement was so perfect. For days later, the lid of the Emperor Pill Furnace actually spewed out a stream of dragon qi. This dragon qi manifested into a phantom of a giant dragon, spiraling upwards, constantly revolving around the Imperial Pill Furnace. The powerful dragon power poured down like rain, and the surrounding space seemed to be frozen by this dragon power. After the giant dragon circled around the furnace a few times, it suddenly rushed into the furnace. The lid of the cauldron flew up, and 12 golden lights burst out from within. Damn, this guy really succeeded in refining it. This guy is trying to defy the heavens. The Pill Emperor Turtle was dumbfounded and felt that it was unbelievable. It even forgot to collect the 12 golden lights that erupted. By the time the Pill Emperor Turtle reacted, the 12 golden lights were about to fall to the ground. The Pill Emperor Turtle was flustered. It barely managed to collect the 12 golden lights into another jade bottle. Motherf asterisk her, it's another unique quality Supreme Meteor Dragon Pill. This Zhuowen is really freaking abnormal. The Pill Emperor Turtle could feel the powerful aura of the special grade in the jade bottle. It could not help but curse in a low voice. Its eyes were filled with shock. At this moment, Zhuowen slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were clear. I refined a Genesis grade divine pill and a Creation grade divine pill in succession. Zhuowen recalled what he had done just now and revealed a look of disbelief. The Pill Emperor Turtle looked at Zhuowen and handed the 2 bottles of divine pills that it had collected just now to Zhuowen. After Zhuowen finished reading, he finally believed this fact. Zhuowen held the mysterious stone in his hand. His eyes were filled with excitement. The mysterious energy that was transmitted to him from the stone could actually raise his comprehension ability to an extremely terrifying level in a short period of time. He sensed that, at that moment, his comprehension ability had undergone an unprecedented transformation, and he'd entered an extremely profound state from then on. It was in that mysterious realm that he could not help but refine Genesis grade divine pills and Creation grade divine pills in succession, and he had officially become a Creation grade alchemist. Zhuowen held the stone tightly. He wanted to test the mysterious energy in the stone again. However, he was disappointed to find that the mysterious energy could no longer be transmitted. It was as if he had used up all the mysterious energy in the stone in that instant just now. This stone really did not look much different from an ordinary stone now. Zhuowen was not discouraged. Instead, he carefully stored the mysterious stone in the great world. This mysterious stone definitely had an extraordinary origin. At this moment, Xiao He had also returned. This fellow had a small treasure house that wasn't small. The things inside the Blood Prison's treasure house were basically taken by this fellow into his small treasure house. Zhuowen did not ask Xiao He for the mysterious stone. For him, the mysterious stone was a great gain. Zhuowen intended to give the things in the Blood Prison treasure house to Xiao He. Xiao He also knew Zhuowen's thoughts, so he did not say it out loud. The two had been together for so long that they had already formed a certain tacit understanding. There were some things that were tacitly understood. There was no need to say it out loud. Ji Wuming, no wonder I was targeted by the Blood Prison assassins as soon as I came back. It turns out that Ji Wuming was behind it. Zhuowen crushed the blood-red jade slip in his hand. This jade slip was given to him by Shui Wuhan before he left. It provided information about the employer who had hired the blood prison assassins. This employer was the Pale Array Immortal Alliance's Ji Wuming. Anyway, I'll pass by the Pale Array Immortal Alliance on my way to the sun-chasing temple. I'll settle this account with Ji Wuming. Zhuowen's eyes were cold. He took out the space-time roulette and disappeared from the void dimension. The Pale Array Immortal Alliance was exceptionally lively today. All the cultivators of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance had entered the alliance as if they were participating in some kind of grand event. In the Pale Array Immortal Alliance, there was an extremely large plaza. Countless people were standing in a dark mass. Most of the people in the square were wearing the long robes that represented Array, Tao Divine Masters, and Alchemy Masters. In other words, all of the people in the square were Array, Tao Divine Masters, and Alchemy Masters. Today was the centennial Tao discussion of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance. All the Array, Tao Divine Masters, and Alchemy Masters in the entire host region had gathered here. They wanted to listen to the exchange of insights on Array, Tao, and Alchemy Tao between the four great Immortal Masters and the Alliance Master, Ji Wuming. The four great Immortal Masters and the Alliance Master, Ji Wuming, were the highest echelons of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance. They were also the most capable people in the Eastern Tao region who had studied Array Tao and Alchemy Tao to the extreme. If they could listen to the exchange of insights between such experts, it would definitely be beneficial for many Array Tao Divine Masters and Alchemy Masters. Chapter 3084. Ji Wuming, the Tao Discussion Conference, is about to begin. Among the four Immortal Masters, I've only seen Immortal Master Huan Taiping. I've never seen the other three, not to mention Alliance Leader Ji Wuming. You're lucky enough to have met an Immortal Master. I haven't even met an Immortal Master yet. However, I heard that the Pale Array Immortal Alliance has chosen a fifth Immortal Master. I remember that Immortal Master's name is Zhuowen, right? That's right. After the fifth Immortal Master appeared, all the forces in the host region began to pay attention to it. However, that Zhuowen seems to be very boring. Not many people have seen him before. It seems that Zhuowen didn't attend this time. It's really strange. Could it be that the rumor that Zhuowen is the fifth Immortal Master of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance is just a rumor? Who knows? Look, the four Immortal Masters and Alliance Leader Ji Wuming are here. Suddenly, someone pointed to the sky and shouted, attracting the attention of the people in the square. A streak of flowing light came from the horizon, like a falling meteor, and soon landed on the high platform at the front of the square. The stream of light faded away, revealing 5 figures. The leader was a white-haired young man with a dignified appearance. This white-haired young man had a dignified aura. The 4 Immortal Masters, standing behind the white-haired young man, looked middle-aged. However, they stood behind the white-haired young man like obedient puppies. They stood respectfully and motionlessly. This white-haired young man was the Alliance Leader, Ji Wuming. The 4 people behind him were the 4 Immortal Masters of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance. They were Huan Taiping, Feng Zisher, Jiang Kong, and Xiao Yi. Ji Wuming looked at the crowd in the square with a satisfied expression. He waved his hands in front of him. The noisy square suddenly quieted down. I'm very happy that everyone took the time to attend the Tao Discussion Conference. This is an honor for me and the entire Pale Array Immortal Alliance. The square was filled with applause. Today's Tao Discussion Conference is similar to the previous years. I, Ji Wuming, will discuss the experience of Array Tao and Pale Tao with the 4 Immortal Masters. If you have any questions, you can boldly raise your doubts. We will answer your questions on the spot. Ji Wuming's beautiful words won the approval of everyone present. Next, Ji Wuming and the 4 Immortal Masters sat on the 5 seats that had been arranged for them. Ji Wu ordered the 4 Immortal Masters to discuss the Tao of Alchemy and the Tao of Alchemy face to face, pointing out the relationship and opposition between the Tao of Alchemy and the Tao of Alchemy. After a round of discussion, all the people in the square revealed expressions of enlightenment. There were even some radical fellows who could not help but shout loudly in the square in joy. Of course, the Pil-Array Immortal Alliance showed no mercy to these people and took them away one by one. Following that, the alchemists and god formation masters in the square raised their own questions after the discussion. Ji Wuming and the four immortal masters were indeed the best pill refiners and god array masters of the Pil-Array Immortal Alliance. They basically answered these questions perfectly and even gave the questioner some thought-provoking answers. As time passed, the number of questioners gradually decreased, and the voices of questions became sparse. Most of the people in the square quieted down, and some even sat cross-legged on the square to silently comprehend their gains. Ji Wuming and the four immortal masters stood up. Since the Tao discussion conference was completely over, there was no need for them to stay any longer. Alliance Master Ji, I still have a question for you. Can you please answer me? Suddenly, a voice sounded from the crowd. No one in the crowd paid much attention to this figure. There were too many people asking questions during this period, so it was impossible for them to pay attention to all of them. Ji Wuming, who was about to stand up, stopped. He did not even look at the person who asked the question in the crowd and said indifferently, "Fellow Taoist, please ask away." I heard that the Pil-Array Immortal Alliance has a fifth immortal master. That immortal master is Zhuowen. I also heard that Alliance Master Ji secretly hired assassins from the Blood Prison to kill this fifth immortal master. In the crowd, the voice sounded again. This question had nothing to do with the Tao discussion conference. It was even somewhat gossipy, but it was very sharp and aggressive. Ji Wuming stood up abruptly, and his eyes finally fell on the person who asked the question in the crowd. Everyone in the square also turned their gazes to the person who asked the question. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. This was a slightly delicate young man. He slowly walked from the end of the square, and his body emitted a dignified aura. Wherever the young man passed, the people in the square automatically made way for him. This made the cultivators on the road feel incredulous. They originally did not want to make way, but when they felt the sudden burst of aura from the young man, they trembled with fear, and their hands and feet did not listen to them. The moment Ji Wuming saw the young man, his face stiffened slightly. This was because he recognized the young man's face. It turned out to be Zhuowen, whom he had been trying to kill. Even the Blood Prison's double kill failed to kill Zhuowen? What the hell is going on? Ji Wuming's eyes flickered, and his heart beat rapidly. The moment Zhuowen left the star battlefield, he received the news, so he contacted the Blood Prison. He thought that the Blood Prison's double kill would definitely be able to kill Zhuowen, but he did not expect that his plan would be foiled. Ji Wuming, are you surprised to see me? Zhuowen walked over step by step, but his eyes were always on Ji Wuming. Ji Wuming's eyes flickered, and he said coldly, "Who are you? How dare you question me? I won't hold you responsible now. Get out of here, or you won't have a chance later." Many people in the crowd felt strange when they heard Ji Wuming's words. They heard a hint of surrender in Ji Wuming's tone. Were they hallucinating? "I'm here to kill you today. Do you think I'll get out of here?" Zhuowen grinned coldly, but his right foot had already stepped out, and he disappeared in an instant. The moment Zhuowen appeared, he was already in front of Ji Wuming, and his whole body was emitting a crystal clear light. The light soared into the sky, looking terrifying, dazzling, and blazing. Ji Wuming's achievements in array and alchemy were very high, but he was not as good in martial arts as he was in array and alchemy. His cultivation was only at the early stage of the creation realm. Bang! Zhuowen threw a punch, but it was immediately blocked by a stream of energy. It was a jade slip which emitted ripple-like energy that blocked in front of Ji Wuming. One could tell at a glance that this jade slip should be a kind of defensive array formation restriction. Moreover, it was a creation-level array formation restriction. Break! Zhuowen's eyes were cold, and he burst out all the power of the 6-star, late-stage, Pangu sacred body. Chapter 3085. Hypocrite. The moment the water ripples exploded, the jade slip in front of Ji Wuming also exploded. Ji Wuming groaned and flew backward in a sorry state. His feet kept kicking in the void, and the powerful force caused the surrounding space to collapse. The moment he stabilized his body, his expression changed dramatically. Without thinking, he immediately took out a jade slip. This jade slip was also engraved with a powerful defensive formation, which blocked in front of Ji Wuming. Bang! Zhuowen once again smashed the defensive formation with a single punch. Bang! 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 Every time Ji Wuming retreated, the jade slips he took out would be consumed. Zhuowen was very patient. He followed closely behind Ji Wuming, punching again and again. With his current strength, it was too easy for him to kill Ji Wuming with one punch. The main reason was that Ji Wuming had too many jade slips, and most of them were defensive formations of the creation level. This was also why Ji Wuming could withstand Zhuowen's full-strength attacks again and again. In fact, if Zhuowen had used Hou Yi's divine arrow at the beginning, it would have immediately penetrated Ji Wuming's defensive formation and killed him. However, Zhuowen did not intend to use Hou Yi's divine arrow. After all, it was his trump card, his ultimate powerful weapon. Now he could completely kill Ji Wuming without using Hou Yi's divine arrow. It would only take him some time, so there was no need to use Hou Yi's divine arrow. At this moment, the 4 immortal masters on the square and the high platform were stunned. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Ji Wuming. Ji Wuming, the leader of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance, was now being suppressed by a strange young man. He had no room to fight back. Who is this person? He questioned the leader as soon as he arrived, and now he's attacking without saying anything? He looks familiar, but I don't have any impression of him. Maybe he has something to do with Zhuowen. Puff! Another punch came, and the space around Ji Wuming exploded. The jade slip in front of Ji Wuming broke, and Ji Wuming spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were full of horror. He had almost used up all his jade slips, but Zhuowen was like a god, constantly bombarding Ji Wuming with attacks. The dense fist shadows shrouded Ji Wuming, cutting off all his escape routes. No matter whether Ji Wuming moved forward, backward, or sideways, he would be hit by the dense fist shadows. Ji Wuming waved his sleeve and took out 9 jade slips of different colors from his spiritual ring. These 9 jade slips were made by Ji Wuming after he became a creation divine formation master. They were called the 9 extremes killing formation. The 9 extremes killing formation combined the attributes of a killing formation and a trapping formation. After being cultivated by Ji Wuming for nearly 10,000 years, it had gone beyond the scope of an ordinary killing formation and a trapping formation. This was the formation Ji Wuming was most proud of in his life. Bang! The moment Ji Wuming activated the 9 extremes killing formation, the 9 jade slips suddenly burst out with different colors. They were like 9 strange beasts guarding Ji Wuming. The fist shadows also fell on Ji Wuming at this moment, but they were easily blocked by the 9 extremes killing formation. Ji Wuming's eyes relaxed, but he was still very cautious. He did not dare to counterattack Zhuowen and kept retreating. At this moment, the 4 immortal masters on the high platform had already reacted. They jumped into the air and surrounded Ji Wuming, staring at Zhuowen solemnly. Immortal Master Zhuo, don't be impulsive. Don't misunderstand a good person. Huan Taiping stood beside Ji Wuming and took the initiative to speak. He looked at Zhuowen with a slightly complicated expression. Misunderstand a good person? Zhuowen sneered and shook his head inwardly. He was very disappointed with Huan Taiping. Speaking of which, when he was in the Pill Array Immortal Alliance, he had a good relationship with Huan Taiping, who had helped him a lot. However, he was very clear that Huan Taiping did not know that Ji Wuming had secretly sent the blood prison killers. Obviously, Huan Taiping was completely on Ji Wuming's side, and he was the one who had been betrayed. Of course, Zhuowen still had a question. Why did Ji Wuming want to kill him? Maybe it's about the dead flower. Zhuowen had some guesses. After all, he was an immortal master of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance, who had been personally appointed by Ji Wuming. Ji Wuming had no motive to kill him. However, ever since he had reported the dead flower to Ji Wuming, he had been frequently harassed by the blood prison killers. Obviously, the key point was the dead flower. Huan Taiping also felt the mockery and disappointment in Zhuowen's tone, but he did not care. Instead, he calmly said, "Immortal Master Zhuya, all of this is a misunderstanding. As long as you don't mess around, you will still be an immortal master of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Moreover, your talent in alchemy and Array Dao is so strong. The position of Alliance leader will be yours in the future. You are the future of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Alliance leader Ji will be magnanimous and not care about the previous misunderstanding." Ji Wuming's eyes were gloomy as he said in a low voice, "Taiping is right. Immortal Master Zhua, the Pill Array Immortal Alliance has always been your home. I don't know which scoundrel misled you, but I think you should wake up now. Also, you might not know about the foundation of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. There are many restriction formations in the Pill Array Immortal Alliance's encampment, and they are basically all great formations of the creation realm. These formations complement each other and entangle with each other, forming an unprecedented restriction network. It is enough to kill any cultivator below the Heaven Ascension realm. Immortal Master Zhua, you also know that the Pill Array Immortal Alliance is loyal to our own people. However, if there is a traitor, we will definitely punish him severely." The mockery on Zhuowen's face became even more intense. Ji Wuming's words were beautiful, but unfortunately, this guy was a complete hypocrite. If he really believed this person's words, he would really be in deep trouble. On the other hand, the people in the square were shocked. Ji Wuming and Huan Taiping didn't transmit their voices, but spoke directly. Although their voices weren't loud, everyone in the square heard them clearly. Only now did they know that the ruthless person who had questioned Ji Wuming and attacked him was actually the legendary fifth immortal master of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. The people in the square slowly retreated, not daring to approach the high platform in front of the square. They had all seen how terrifying Zhuowen and Ji Wuming were. If they really fought, they were afraid that the closer they were to them, the faster they would die. "Ji Wuming, if you don't want people to know, then don't do it in the first place. I'm too lazy to discuss your matters with you, because I came to the Pill Array Immortal Alliance today for only one purpose, and that is to kill you." Zhuowen's eyes were filled with killing intent. He stomped his right foot and rushed toward Ji Wuming, his body emitting a dazzling light. Chapter 3086. Breaking the Array. Activate the Grand Array. Ji Wuming transmitted his voice to the four immortal masters with a cold look in his eyes. "Alliance Master, there are still many alchemists and array masters in the square. I don't think it's appropriate for us to activate the Grand Array like this." Huan Taiping replied cautiously. "Cut the crap. Listen to me. Zhuowen is not a simple person. Only by activating the Grand Array can we restrain him. Otherwise, we will all be in trouble. Don't hesitate. Zhuowen is coming." Ji Wuming roared in sound transmission with an indescribable majesty. Huan Taiping and the other three great immortal masters no longer hesitated, and very tacitly formed the same hand seals. Soon after, the energy in the entire plaza became extremely berserk. The moment the Grand Array was activated, the four immortal masters and Ji Wuming turned into 5 streaks of white light and appeared at the edge of the square. They coldly looked at everyone in the square, especially Zhuowen. Zhuo, one gang landed at the place where the 4 immortal masters were just standing. His feet stomped on the ground, causing the ground to explode. His expression changed slightly when he saw the energy in the square suddenly become violent. He knew that Ji Wuming had activated the Grand Array on the square. Zhuowen was not the only one who was shocked. Countless alchemists and array masters in the square were also shocked. They had never thought that Ji Wuming would dare to activate the grand array on the square when they were still in the square. Was he trying to kill them all and make them die with Zhuowen? Puff! The energy in the square became more and more violent. Some of the weaker alchemists and array masters in the square began to vomit blood. Some couldn't withstand the increasingly violent energy. Alliance Master Ji, what do you mean by this? Are you trying to kill us too? Two people walked out from the group. Judging by their age, they were both middle-aged men. One of them was a man with a big belly. There was a picture of a cauldron on his robe. Apparently, this fat man was the representative of the alchemists. He was a genuine Genesis alchemist. The other one was a skinny man. Judging from the picture on his robe, he should be the representative of the array masters in the square. The one who spoke was the fat man. His eyes were burning with anger as he stared at Ji Wuming and the others at the edge of the square. Ji Wuming's eyes were cold as he said lightly, "Brother Qin, I have my own difficulties. If I don't do this, we will be the ones who will die. But don't worry, I won't let you die in vain. At the very least, Zhuowen will be buried with you. It can be considered as me avenging you." Ji Wuming's words infuriated everyone in the square. What the hell was Ji Wuming talking about? How could he be so thick-skinned? How could he be so shameless? Zhuowen silently watched the conversation between Ji Wuming and the pot-bellied alchemist. He was extremely disgusted by Ji Wuming's shamelessness. "Everyone, if you trust me, you can enter my great world. I can take you out of here." Zhuowen suddenly cupped his hands and said to the many alchemists and god formation masters who were enduring the torture of the array formation behind him. The array formation on the surface of the square was made up of many creation-grade array formations and restrictions, and its power was terrifying beyond compare. However, Zhuowen possessed a divine book like the true record of alchemy array. In addition to his array Tao level, he could really break the array formation on the square. However, it might take him a long time. He had the Pangus sacred body, so he could withstand the increasingly violent energy in the array. However, the other alchemists and array masters could not withstand it. They could not hold on for long. Since Zhuowen had already planned to break the array, it was easy for him to help these alchemists and array masters. Moreover, Zhuowen was not afraid of these people causing trouble in his array master's world. The array master's world belonged to Zhuowen. The rules and power system in the array master's world were specially created for Zhuowen. In the outside world, Zhuowen was the supreme ruler. He could control the lives of any living being in the outside world. Although there were many alchemists and formation masters, Zhuowen wasn't worried that they would run amok in the outside world. On the contrary, these people were worried that if Zhuowen's intentions weren't pure, they would be killed when they entered the outside world. "Of course, if you're not willing, I won't force you." Zhuowen saw that everyone in the square was hesitating, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he began to observe the surrounding array formations. He recalled the contents of the true alchemy array record. "Immortal Master Zhuo, I'm willing to enter your great world. As long as Immortal Master Zhuo can help us escape, we're willing to make you the alliance head of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance." The big-bellied, middle-aged man's eyes flashed with a hint of decisiveness. He immediately came before Zhuowen and knelt on one knee, indicating his current position. After the big-bellied, middle-aged man, the skinny man also expressed his position. The big-bellied man and the skinny man were the representatives of the alchemists and formation masters on the square. Both of them were willing to believe in the young man in front of them. The other alchemists and formation masters all followed suit. They all knew that they were in a desperate situation. They could only try their best and give it their all. Zhuowen didn't care about these people at all. He waved his sleeve casually, and a black hole appeared beside him. He said impatiently, "I'm just saving people on the way. It's up to you whether you want to enter or not. This is the entrance. Don't disturb me when I'm breaking the array." The big-bellied, middle-aged man and the skinny man looked at each other. Clearly, Zhouen's attitude made them speechless. However, they didn't say anything. They were counting on this person now. How could they dare to fall out with him? The big-bellied man and the skinny man took the lead and entered the black hole. The others naturally didn't dare to fall behind. When the last person entered the black hole, Zhouwen waved his sleeve and turned into a small world of dust attached to his hair. He then took out the True Alchemy Array record and opened the array chapter again. Zhouwen took out 9 Beast Bone Array discs and combined them into an extremely powerful defense restriction. It barely resisted the violent energy around him. He began to use his divine sense to explore the surroundings while reading the True Alchemy Array record. He found that every time he read the True Alchemy Array record, he would gain a lot, especially when he was reading the True Alchemy Array record while breaking the array. This was the most rewarding moment. Zhouwen still wants to break the array. It's like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. There are 81 types of creation-level arrays in the square. They were set up by the previous Alliance Masters. Even if it's me, I'm afraid I can't break this complex array no matter how much time I spend. Ji Wuming looked at Zhouwen, who was quietly breaking the array in the square. His face was full of sarcasm and mockery. Chapter 3087, The New Alliance, Master in the Square. Zhouwen suddenly stood up with a look of enlightenment in his eyes. His eyes were blurred and unfocused, but his movements were swift and decisive. He formed a complicated and obscure seal with both hands. The 9 Beast Bone Array discs turned into 9 beams of black light and shot out in 9 directions around the square. Then the array in the square shook violently and collapsed in front of Ji Wuming and the other 4. Whoosh! The moment he broke the formation, Zhouwen immediately took out his Ho, Eat Godly bow and drew the Ho, Eat Godly arrow into a full moon before releasing it. Immediately, the Ho-E divine arrow tore through the air, and a terrifying and ear-piercing explosion resounded. Ji Wuming was doused with a bucket of cold water by the arrow's killing intent. He immediately retreated, and the 9 extreme hegemony killing array around him burst into a dazzling light. Bang! The Ho-E divine arrow hit the 9 extreme hegemony killing array and lit up with a terrifying light like the scorching sun. Ji Wuming was directly blown away by the terrifying impact. The divine arrow was pressed against the surface of the 9 extreme hegemony killing array, and the impact caused Ji Wuming to fly backward faster and faster. Bang! 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 While Ji Wuming was flying backward, the 9 jade slips around him shattered one after another, bursting into rays of light of different colors. No. When the last jade slip exploded, the 9 extreme hegemony killing array was completely shattered, and the Ho-E divine arrow directly pierced through Ji Wuming. After Ji Wuming's death, the 4 immortal masters fled in different directions without a second thought. Zhouwen summoned the Thunderfire Sword, the Sacrificial Death Sword, and the Blood Immortal Sword and killed 3 immortal masters in 3 different directions. Meanwhile, Zhouwen took out an ordinary arrow and shot it at Huan Taiping. Immortal Master Zhua, I have no enmity with you. When the Alliance Master wanted to kill you, I pleaded for mercy. Please let me go. Huan Taiping felt the arrow coming closer and closer behind him. He was scared out of his wits and hurriedly begged for mercy. Unfortunately, just as Huan Taiping finished speaking, the divine arrow had already pierced through the back of his head, taking his life with 1 arrow. After killing the 4 celestial masters, Zhouwen returned to the square. With a wave of his sleeve, he brought everyone out from the outside world. He then sat down cross-legged on the spot. Just now, when he was deciphering the array formation in the plaza, he had read through the true record of alchemy arrays. He felt that he would be able to make a breakthrough after digesting it. After all, his array formation level had already reached that level. After the pot-bellied man and the skinny man led the group of alchemists and formation masters out, the first thing they saw was the dilapidated square. The second thing he saw was a figure sitting cross-legged in the middle of the square, surrounded by 3 divine swords. They were no strangers to this figure. It was none other than Zhuowen. Was the battle over? Ji Wuming is dead? The pot-bellied man saw an incomplete body not far away. From the tattered clothes on the body, he recognized that it was Ji Wuming. In other words, Ji Wuming was killed by this boy. How long had it been? Not only did this guy decipher the array formation, but he also killed Ji Wuming and the 4 celestial masters. This guy was definitely a ruthless character. Not only the pot-bellied man, but everyone who came out of the outside world looked at Zhuowen with fear in their eyes. Step back, all of you. This is my little brother, and I'll protect him. If you dare to act recklessly, don't blame this Master Long for falling out with you. Xiao He sat on the hilt of the Thunderfire sword and looked at the people around him fiercely. The pot-bellied man and the others were so scared that they didn't dare to come close. Soon, a dense energy emerged around Zhuowen and descended from the sky. Immediately, Zhuowen's hands quickly formed a seal, and the 9 beast bone array discs drew a ghostly trajectory in the air. The outline of an array formation reappeared around the square. A starry sky appeared above the array, and under the starry sky, a raging fire burned fiercely. The starry sky and the primordial fire complemented each other, forming a strange scene. An extremely terrifying and vast aura emerged from the array. This is the Starry Night primordial fire ray. Is this boy going to become a divine array master of the creation realm? The pot-bellied man was so excited that his belly kept shaking and ripples appeared on it. It was a funny sight. However, no one in the surroundings laughed at the man because their gazes were all focused on Zhuowen. Ji Wuming was recognized as the number 1 divine array master and pill master in the host region. This was because Ji Wuming's array Dao and pill Dao had both reached the creation realm, and he could refine creation divine pills and great arrays. However, this young man's array Dao had also reached Ji Wuming's level, and he was so young. It was unbelievable. Celestial Master Zhuo, we are willing to make you the leader of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Please accept. The pot-bellied man and the skinny man stepped out of the crowd and bowed respectfully to Zhuowen. The reverence in their eyes was even more intense. The others also lowered their heads and willingly declared that they were willing to let Zhuowen succeed them as the new leader of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Everyone could see that Zhuowen was much more powerful than Ji Wuming. Moreover, he was very talented, and it was not impossible for him to become a divine array master in the future. If he really did become a divine array master, he would stand at the peak of the Xianmi heavenly region and lead the Pill Array Immortal Alliance to greater heights. Zhuowen was stunned. He did not expect these people to really want to make him the leader of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Even though this group of people's cultivation wasn't high, their Pill Dao and Array Dao standards were definitely in the upper echelons of the Xianmi heavenly region. They were not only members of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance, but they were also scattered across various powers. They were all Pill Array masters of their respective powers. This group of people represented most of the factions in the host region. This was also why the Pill Array Immortal Alliance had such a large influence in the host region. It was mainly because of the existence of this group of people. The existence of these people maintained the subtle relationship between the Pill Array Immortal Alliance and the various factions in the host region. It had to be said that Ji Wuming was very courageous. In order to eliminate Zhuowen, he was willing to risk damaging his relationship with the various factions and was willing to give up this group of elites. If everyone is willing to let me lead you, I, Zhuowen, will naturally accept. I, Zhuowen, can guarantee that as long as you are sincerely willing to follow me, I will continue to develop the Pill Array Immortal Alliance and bring it to greater heights. Zhuowen's voice was not loud, but it was full of energy. His body emitted a faint, majestic aura, which made many of the cultivators present feel slightly at ease. Alliance Leader. The ceremony for the new Alliance Leader requires the Pill Array Masters and Array Dao Masters of the host region to vote together. Then the Pil Array Dao region will send people over to test whether you are suitable to be the alliance leader of the Pil Array Immortal Alliance. The pot-bellied man stepped out of the crowd and whispered to Zhuowen, "What's your name?" Zhuowen had a good impression of the pot-bellied man. Not only was this person good, but his character was also not bad. This could be seen from the way he questioned Ji Wuming. Chapter 3088. The Ruthless Sakyamuni. So you're the alchemist of the sun-chasing temple. I'm planning to go to the sun-chasing temple. You can come with me then, Zhuowen said with a smile. When Zhou Guan heard that, he immediately beamed with joy and hurriedly agreed. The young man in front of him was already the new alliance leader of the Pil Array Immortal Alliance. Although this matter had not yet been reported to the Pil Array Dao region, Zhou Guan believed that with Zhuowen's ability, passing the assessment of the people sent by the Pil Array Dao region was a piece of cake. A new leader would definitely need a capable assistant. Zhou Guan obviously knew this. If he could get along with Zhuowen, then his future would be limitless. Zhuowen nodded and immediately looked at the skinny man. The skinny man had a high prestige in the crowd and was comparable to Zhou Guan. He was a Genesis-level Array Dao Master. I'm the Scarlet Mountain Villas Array Dao Master, Feng Yuan. Greetings, Alliance Leader Zhua. Feng Yuan was more taciturn. Previously, when Zhuowen did not greet him, he did not say a word. Now that he saw Zhuowen looking over, he immediately introduced himself in fear. Feng Yuan, I need to go to the sun-chasing temple for a while. During my absence, I hope you can temporarily take over the Pil Array Immortal Alliance and repair this square. After Zhuowen finished speaking, Zhou Guan, who was standing beside Zhuowen, immediately said, Feng Yuan, there's also the matter of the new alliance leader. I need you to communicate with the person in charge of the Alchemy Array Dao region. Feng Yuan nodded and said meticulously, Alliance leader, Brother Zhou, don't worry. I'll communicate with the Pil Array Dao region. I think they'll send someone over soon. After Zhou Guan gave Feng Yuan some instructions, he followed Zhuowen and left the Pil Array Immortal Alliance. Within the secret chamber of the Yin Corp sect, Senki Yin sat in the middle of a pool of blood. The blood pool seemed to be boiling as many blood bubbles appeared. These blood bubbles slowly rose up and merged into Senki Yin's body. Senki Yin's eyes were slightly closed. His face was red, as if he was drunk. About an hour later, Senki Yin's body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He opened his eyes, which were filled with resentment. The side effects of blood shadow evasion are too great. My realm is still falling. Senki Yin's expression was ugly. It had been some time since he was reborn in the blood pool. In the beginning, his cultivation had already fallen from the early Lord of Heavenspan to the peak Lord of Creation. Right now, his cultivation level was only at the early stage Lord of Creation realm, and this decline was still continuing. Senki Yin began to panic. If his cultivation level continued to fall, he wouldn't even be able to maintain his cultivation level as a Lord of Creation. During this period, Senki Yin had tried many methods. He even stayed in the blood pool and continuously absorbed the energy within, but he still couldn't stop his cultivation level from falling. Dong dong dong. Someone knocked on the secret chamber's stone door, attracting Senki Yin's attention. Come in. Senki Yin calmed down and said indifferently. The stone door was pushed open, and a young man with a golden vertical mark between his eyebrows walked in excitedly. The young man seemed to be unable to contain his joy. He stepped to the edge of the blood pool, his eyes filled with excitement. Senki Yin frowned slightly and said in a low voice, Sakyamuni, why have you come to the secret chamber? Didn't I say that if there's nothing important, don't disturb me again? The young man with the golden vertical mark between his eyebrows was Sakyamuni. Sakyamuni regained his composure and bowed respectfully to Senki Yin. Sect Master, I was too rude. Tell me, what's the good news? Why did you lose your cool? Senki Yin's expression eased slightly, and his tone was calm as he asked. Sect Master, I broke through again. Sakymuna's voice was filled with unconcealable joy. So fast! I remember that you just advanced to the early stage, Lord of Creation, realm not long ago. You actually broke through again and reached the mid-stage Lord of Creation realm? Senki-in looked at Sakyamuni in disbelief. The latter's talent was a little too powerful. Every cultivation level in the third step of Tao validation was very difficult, and it required a very long time to break through. According to the cultivation speed of ordinary cultivators, it would take at least 1,000 years to advance from the early stage Lord of Creation realm to the mid-stage Lord of Creation realm. However, it had only been less than half a year since Sakyamuni had broken through. Sakyamuni took a deep look at Senki-in before lowering his head and suddenly asking, "Sect Master, how are your injuries?" Senki-yin's gaze was cold as he said, "They're more or less healed. I should be able to recover to my peak after a while." "That's good." Sakyamuni nodded and took out a golden Ganoderma from his spirit ring. This Ganoderma was like a blazing sun, and complex patterns appeared on its surface, forming a special law. "Sect Master, I found this golden blood Ganoderma by accident. It said that it's extremely beneficial for healing. I have no use for it, so I'll give it to you as a gift." As he spoke, Sakyamuni handed the golden blood Ganoderma to Senki-in. Senki-in floated in the center of the blood pool, and his heart burned with passion the instant he saw the golden blood Ganoderma. The golden blood Ganoderma was a creation-level divine medicine, and it was also an extremely powerful divine medicine for healing. If it was Senki-yin's previous realm, the golden blood Ganoderma would not be of much use to him. But now that his realm had fallen to the early stage of the creation level, his injuries were extremely serious. This golden blood Ganoderma would be of great use to him. However, Senki-in did not show his emotions on his face. Instead, he accepted the golden blood Ganoderma without batting an eyelid. "You're too kind. Haven't you always wanted to become an elder of the 10 Extremes in Corp sect? I'll now specially appoint you as the new Grand Elder of the 10 Extremes in Corp sect. Your position is only below mine," Senki-in said indifferently. Sakyamuni was wild with joy. He hurriedly came before Senki-in and knelt down on one knee. Senki-in was very satisfied with Sakyamuni's performance, but soon his expression changed. A powerful force suddenly came from below him and blasted towards him. Senki-in was caught off guard and was directly hit in the chest by the force. Senki-in spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest exploded, and a large amount of blood mist burst out. Bang! Senki-in crashed into the rock wall behind him. Smoke and dust flew everywhere. Cough, cough, cough! Senki-in spat out a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground. He raised his head and stared at Sakyamuni in front of him. The force just now was Sakyamuni's sudden sneak attack. He had punched Senki-in's chest and almost blasted Senki-in's right chest into smithereens. "Your realm." Senki-in struggled to get up and stared at Sakyamuni in front of him. At this moment, Sakyamuni's entire body was filled with energy. He was like a storm that could erupt at any time. Every step he took caused a huge commotion. It was as if the entire stone room was trembling because of him. "Sect Master, you might have misunderstood me. I've indeed broken through, but I haven't broken through to the mid-stage of the Lord of Creation. I've broken through to the early stage of the Lord of Creation. I'm not wrong. Your realm has been falling. Now, you're only at the early stage of the Lord of Creation." Chapter 3089. Startling news Sakyamuni's attack whistled over like a furious dragon. Senki-in let out a sharp howl as he transformed into a blood-red shadow and fled towards the exit. Unfortunately, Senki-in was immediately blasted back by a powerful bolt of lightning as soon as he entered the exit. A creation grade grand formation. Senki-in was stunned. During this moment of shock, Sakyamuni's next attack had already descended onto Senki-in's shoulder. Senki-in staggered as Sakyamuni's fist pierced through his shoulder, and he was buried face down into the ground. Senki In was just about to crawl up when Sakyamuni stomped down forcefully on Senki In's spine, causing Senki In to fall face down onto the ground once more. No matter how he struggled, he was actually unable to get up. How can you be so strong? And your cultivation? Senki Yin's face was ghastly pale, and his entire body was trembling. He was still in a dazed state. He couldn't figure out how Sakyamuni's cultivation had advanced so quickly. Even a genius with a heaven-grade ancestral Tao root wouldn't be able to advance as quickly as Sakyamuni. Haha, Sect Master, you might have misunderstood something. My cultivation was already at the peak of the God of Creation realm before you headed to the battlefield in the stars. I just intentionally concealed it. Sakyamuni's gaze was high and mighty, as if he was looking down at Senki In, and his voice was icy cold and emotionless. You've been coveting the position of Sect Master of the 10 Extremes In Corp sect since a long time ago. You're really scheming. To think that I even fostered you as my successor. To tell you the truth, the position of Sect Master will be yours sooner or later. Senki Yin's gaze was gloomy, and his tone was slightly soft. Haha, the position of Sect Master. Sakyamuni roared with laughter, and his gaze was filled with disdain. A mere 10 Extremes In Corp sect is nothing to me. Senki In, let me tell you the secret I possess. My ancestral Tao root can evolve. When I joined the 10 Extremes In Corp sect, my ancestral Tao root was already at the heaven grade. Moreover, during these years of cultivation in the 10 Extremes In Corp sect, my ancestral Tao root evolved once more, and it has already surpassed the heaven grade and entered an extremely profound state. It's precisely because I possess a super heaven grade ancestral Tao root that my cultivation speed is so swift that even I am surprised. Senki In, my future is bound to be extraordinary. I will become the heavens and earth and become the strongest expert in the end. No one can stop my footsteps. Sen Jin opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. He felt that the sakura in front of him had become extremely unfamiliar. Sakyamuni's Corp sect and 99's In Corp's 10-10-10s was worthless in Heaven's 10, was nothing to Sukuni's S of him. Of Lin, Sakyamuni, you don't have to kill me. I can plant a slave imprint in my soul and make me work for you. Senki In calmed down and analyzed. Sakyamuni grinned, shook his head and said, Senki In, you still don't understand what I mean. I'm not attacking for the position of Sect Master of the 10 Extremes In Corp sect, and it's because I need your energy. My physique is very special. I can devour living beings that cultivate and convert their core energy into my own energy without any side effects. The higher the cultivation of the living being, the greater the effect it has on my physique. Senki Yin's expression changed. So Sakyamuni actually had such an idea. Coldness filled his heart, and he felt unprecedented fear. What exactly is Sakyamuni's physique? It's actually so strange that he can devour living beings to cultivate quickly without any side effects. This defies common sense. I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Come in now. Sakyamuni didn't speak anymore. The vertical slit between his brows suddenly opened, revealing a golden eyeball hidden inside. A beam of golden light shot out from the golden eyeball and landed in the void, forming a golden circle. This golden circle was like a golden mouth. As it opened and closed, it swallowed Senki In. Senki In had already burned his essence blood, wanting to escape from the golden circle. Unfortunately, Sakyamuni wouldn't give him any chance at all. He forcefully suppressed him and sent him in. After devouring Senki In, I need some time to digest. Then I should be able to smoothly break through to the mid-stage of the creation realm. Sakyamuni licked his lips and chuckled to himself. Senki Yin's vision is too narrow. He will never know that even if he cultivates to the heavenly master realm in the Xianmi heavenly region. So what? In my opinion, he's still just a frog at the bottom of a well. A true great world is far more exciting than the Xian, me heavenly region. As for that Zhuowen, although he made me suffer a few times in the past, he's still just a frog at the bottom of a well. In the future, I'll leave him further and further behind. He'll be on a completely different level from me. With that, Sakyamuni put away the golden circle and left the secret room. Alliance Master, there's still half a day before we reach the sun-chasing shrine. On the deck of the Flying Divine Tool, Zhou Guan stood behind Zhuowen and pointed ahead as he introduced the place to Zhuowen. Zhou Guan, when we reach the sun-chasing shrine, you don't have to call me Alliance Master. Just call me Brother Zhua. After all, the people of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance haven't really approved it yet. Whether I can become the Alliance Master is still uncertain, Zhuowen said. Zhou Guan hesitated for a while, but seeing that Zhuowen had already made up his mind, he could only nod and agree. Suddenly, Zhou Guan's communication jade talisman lit up. He flipped open the jade talisman and looked at it with a serious expression. Brother Zhua, previously you asked me to investigate the 10 Extremes Een Corp sect. Now there's news. It's said that the 10 Extremes Een Corp sect has sealed off the sect. It's almost impossible for them to communicate with the outside world. Zhuowen's expression was calm. He wasn't surprised that Senki Een had sealed off the sect. This also showed that Senki Een was really afraid of him. However, Zhuowen didn't plan to attack the 10 Extremes Een Corp sect. After all, it was a Dao Palace level force, which was much stronger than the Blood Prison. If he attacked alone, he would have to pay a huge price, and he might not be able to take it down, unless his strength had reached the level of the Master of Heaven Piercing. If he attacked now, the 10 Extremes Een Corp sect would definitely suffer. Of course, when his strength reached that level in the future, he would choose to attack directly and destroy this shameless sect. Zhou Guan glanced at Zhuowen and continued, Brother Zhua, there's also news about the Naughty Shiva. It's said that the Naughty Shiva officially became the new sect leader of the 10 Extremes Een Corp sect a few days ago. Sakyamuni became the new sect leader? What about Senki Een? Zhuowen was stunned and found it strange. The Naughty Shiva's talent was indeed strong, but he probably hadn't reached the 3rd step of Dao validation yet. How could he be qualified to become the sect leader of the 10 Extremes Een Corp sect? It's said that Senki Een is in seclusion. He named Sakyamuni as the new sect leader, and it's said that the Naughty Shiva's cultivation is already at the Creator Realm. No one in the 10 Extremes Een Corp sect objected. Chapter 3090. Pale Battlezhuowen's expression was solemn. Sakyamuni's cultivation progress was a little too fast. His human main body had encountered many fortuitous encounters over the years and obtained many inheritances. That was why his cultivation had broken through repeatedly and only reached the eternal Overlord realm. However, the Naughty Shiva had been cultivating in the sect for most of his life. Yet his cultivation had surpassed his main body and reached the creation Overlord realm. This was a little unbelievable. Sakyamuni's cultivation progress surprised Zhuowen and even made him feel pressured. This, in turn, inspired him to become stronger. Of course, it was fine if the Naughty Shiva didn't cause trouble for him. Otherwise, Zhuowen wouldn't mind teaching the Naughty Shiva a lesson. Half a day later, Zhuowen and Zhou Guan arrived at the Sun-Chasing Temple. Because Zhou Guan was the Sun-Chasing Temple's #1 pill refiner, the two didn't encounter any obstacles when entering the temple. Instead, they were warmly welcomed. When they passed by a square, Zhuowen was immediately attracted by the crowd gathered in the center of the square. There was a high platform in the center of the square on which 2 huge pill furnaces were placed. Next to the 2 pill furnaces sat a man and a woman, respectively. The man and woman sat facing each other, releasing divine fire from their hands and placing it under the pill furnaces. Thick white smoke rose from the pill furnaces' lids, and a medicinal fragrance lingered in the square, refreshing the heart. Clearly, the man and woman were having a pill battle. From the medicinal fragrance, Zhuowen could tell that the divine pills they were refining were the same. They were both called the One Revolution with Sage Pill. The One Revolution with Sage Pill was only a primordial Tao divine pill. Pill refiners at Zhuowen and Zhouguan's level didn't care about such a divine pill at all. It was too low level. Zhuowen was paying attention to the high platform because the man in the middle of the pill battle was someone he knew. He had met Jiang Qixing in the astral battlefield and was also the sun-chasing temple's #1 genius. Zhuowen hadn't expected Jiang Qixing to know alchemy. "Haha, Brother Zhua, these two are my disciples. That man is Jiang Qixing, the person with the strongest martial talent in the sun-chasing temple. He's very interested in alchemy, so he shamelessly followed me to learn alchemy." Zhou Guan saw Zhuowen looking at the two people in the middle of the square and couldn't help but introduce the man and woman. When Zhou Guan introduced Jiang Qixing, his expression was still very calm, but when he introduced the woman, his voice clearly fluctuated. "Zian is my personal disciple. Her talent in alchemy is really strong. She has only been learning alchemy from me for less than 300 years. But she has already proven her Tao in alchemy and become a primordial Tao array master." "Her primordial Tao," Zhou said. "Zhou Guan's Tao." There was pride in Zhou Guan's eyes. Obviously, he was very satisfied with Zian. Zhuowen nodded. His eyes were much sharper than Zhou Guan's. He could see at a glance that Zian's refining technique was much more skillful than Jiang Qixing's. Jiang Qixing was bound to lose this pill battle. Bang! Suddenly, there was a muffled sound and a cloud of black smoke came out of the pill furnace in front of Jiang Qixing. Jiang Qixing's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly retreated. The pill furnace also exploded in an instant. The moment Jiang Qixing's pill furnace exploded, Zian quickly patted the lid of the furnace. 12 pills flew out of the furnace and were caught by Zian and put into a jade bottle. "Senior Brother Jiang, I won this time. According to the bet, you owe me a favor." Zian shook the jade bottle in her hand and playfully stuck out her tongue at Jiang Qixing, who looked helpless in front of her. "I admit defeat." Jiang Qixing shrugged and raised his hands in surrender, causing Zian to giggle. Zhuowen saw this and laughed inwardly. Zian clearly liked Jiang Qixing, but the latter was a bit of a blockhead and didn't see it. "Zian, Qixing!" Zhou Guan shouted at Jiang Qixing. Everyone followed the voice and came over. When they saw Zhou Guan, they all showed respect. Zhou Guan was the #1 pill refiner in the sun-chasing temple. He was a genuine Genesis pill refiner. Even in the Pill Array Immortal Alliance, Zhou Guan's position was very high, second only to the 4 Immortal Masters. "Master!" Zian and Jiang Qixing hurriedly ran over and bowed to Zhou Guan. "Brother Long?" Jiang Qixing noticed Zhuowen beside Zhou Guan and was immediately stunned. Then he became ecstatic. "You know each other?" Zhou Guan looked at the ecstatic Jiang Qixing in surprise. "Master, he's Longwen, the one I mentioned to you before," Jiang Qixing said. Could it be that Longwen who used the Starry Sky Pagoda to expel the alien army by himself? Zhou Guan was a bit dizzy. Ever since Jiang Qixing came back and told him what happened in the Starry Sky Pagoda, his respect for Longwen was like a torrential river. He had always wanted to see Longwen and express his respect for him. However, he really didn't expect that Longwen, who he had always wanted to see, would be right next to him. It was simply fate making fun of people. "Brother Jiang, you can just call me Zhuowen in the future. Longwen is just an alias I used to go to the Starry Sky battlefield," Zhuowen said with a faint smile. Jiang Qixing nodded and wasn't surprised. Back then, Senki Yin had already revealed Zhuowen's real name. However, he was already used to it, so he had always called him Longwen. "Brother Zhua, I've long heard of your great name, and I've always wanted to thank you. However, I didn't expect you to be right next to me. I'm really sorry." Zhou Guan's gaze was very serious as he bowed deeply to Zhuowen. His etiquette was very thorough and very strict. "Brother Zhou, you're too polite. It's just a small matter to me," Zhuowen said with a bitter smile. However, Zhou Guan was very serious and said, "Brother Zhou, no matter whether it's a small matter to you or not, it's a big matter to me and the human race. You're the one who saved the human race. This is a huge favor. Did you really defeat the alien army? I heard that the alien army was very terrifying at that time. Even the 4 Dao lords guarding the camps had no choice but to retreat. The alien army even occupied 2 camps. Under such circumstances, you were actually able to turn the situation around. It's really unbelievable." Zi Yan's large eyes blinked as she stared straight at Zhuowen. Her beautiful eyes were filled with interest and curiosity. "Zi Yan, don't be rude. Brother Zhou is the benefactor of the human race. If it weren't for him, the alien race would have already begun to invade the Xian-Mi heavenly domain. At that time, we would all be in trouble," Zhou Guan scolded seriously. Zi Yan shrunk her neck and lowered her head. She was a little dejected. "Brother Zhou, you don't have to be like this. Since we're both part of the human race, I naturally can't watch the alien race wantonly invade our territory. If it were you, you would do the same." Zhuowen shook his head and said, "Brother Zhou, you're really strong, but I'm powerless. Wait for me here first. I'll help you inform the sect master. The sect master is also a reasonable person. If Brother Zhou needs anything, we'll definitely satisfy you. We definitely won't refuse." Chapter 3091. Question Sect Master Ho Tiangang was sitting on the main seat in the conference hall of the Sun-Chasing Temple. Sitting on Ho Tiangong's left was the Sun-Chasing Temple's #1 alchemist, Zhou Guan, while the seat on Ho Tiangong's right was empty. Sitting on both sides of the hall were the higher-ups of the Sun-Chasing Temple, but they all looked puzzled. Although the Sun-Chasing Temple had the habit of holding regular meetings, they only held them once every 3 months. This time, only a month had passed since the last meeting, but the sect master had called them for a meeting again, which made them a little confused. However, since Ho Tiangang sat on the main seat, he became mute and didn't say a word. The others also didn't dare to speak casually. Suddenly, the crisp sound of footsteps came from outside the ceremony hall. A young man slowly walked in with a calm expression, like an ancient well without any ripples. The upper echelons in the hall all looked at the young man walking over with puzzlement. This young man was simply too unfamiliar to them. On the contrary, they were very familiar with the man and woman behind the young man. Jiang Qixing and Zi Yan were the top geniuses of the Sun-Chasing Temple. One was a martial arts genius, while the other was an alchemy genius. They were both influential figures in the Sun-Chasing Temple. But what made many higher-ups in the hall frown was that these 2 geniuses who represented the Sun-Chasing Temple were actually following behind this strange young man. They looked very respectful, as if they were his underlings. Humph! Who is this person? Doesn't he know any etiquette? The old man sitting on the left snorted coldly, very displeased with the strange young man walking in front of Jiang Qixing and Ziyan. This old man obviously had a higher prestige, and the rest of the people in the hall also echoed, "Don't be rude." Ho Tiangang, who was sitting on the main seat, said coldly, and the discussion in the hall suddenly disappeared. All the higher-ups looked at Ho Tiangang in surprise. The old man was even more puzzled, not knowing why Ho Tiangang suddenly scolded them. Could it be that they were talking about the strange young man and made Ho Tiangang unhappy? Ho Tiangang stood up the moment the unfamiliar young man entered the hall. He went up to him and said with a smile, "Alliance Master Zhou, welcome everyone. I apologize for not welcoming you earlier." Ho Tiangong's declaration caused an uproar in the hall. Everyone was shocked by Ho Tiangong's attitude. Everyone reacted. They understood that the reason Ho Tiangang suddenly summoned them was most likely related to this unfamiliar youth in front of them. This caused many people to begin guessing the identity and background of this unfamiliar young man. Zhou Guan, who was sitting on the left, also stood up and followed behind Ho Tiangang with a smile on his face. Everyone in the hall could even see the cautiousness and flattery in Zhou Guan's eyes. This made everyone even more bewildered, and the way they looked at this unfamiliar young man changed greatly. Ho Tiangang personally led the strange young man to the right side seat, while Jiang Qixing and Zi Yan were arranged to sit in the seats below. Sect leader, who was this person? Can you introduce him to us? After the unfamiliar young man sat down, the old man on the left stood up and cupped his fist towards Ho Tiangang as he asked. Everyone else also looked at Ho Tiangang curiously. Ho Tiangang laughed and said, "Everyone should have heard about what happened in the Pale Array Immortal Alliance." Yes, it's said that the Pale Array Immortal Alliance's Jiwuming went crazy. In order to kill their fifth celestial master, Zhuowen, he actually activated the Plaza's array. He planned to bury all the alchemists and divine array masters who participated in the Tao discussion conference together with Zhuowen. Later, Zhuowen turned the tide and broke the array, saving everyone. He also killed Jiwuming and the four celestial masters, and was elected as the new alliance master. The old man nodded and recounted the events that happened in the Pale Array Immortal Alliance. This is the Zhuowen you mentioned. He's also the new alliance master of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance. Ho Tiangang laughed and pointed at Zhuowen. Everyone in the hall was shocked and looked at Zhuowen, who was sitting on the right side seat. So it's Alliance Master Zhuo. I was rude just now. The old man nodded and cupped his fists at Zhuowen. Then he sat back down and did not say a word. The old man was obviously depressed. Everyone might not know about Alliance Master Zhuo's other identity. His background is even greater, Ho Tiangang said again, which piqued everyone's interest. In the Battle of the Stars, the human race fought against the alien race. Everyone should know that we were no match for the alien race. The eastern and northern starry sky camps were destroyed, and the host region was at risk of being invaded by the alien race. However, when the human race was in such a desperate situation, a rogue cultivator named Long mobilized the Starry Sky Tower's cannons and defeated the alien race's army. The alien race's leaders suffered heavy casualties. In the end, the battle between the human race and the alien race was turned around, and the alien race was utterly defeated. The hall became lively as soon as Ho Tiangang said that. Everyone praised Long when they mentioned the reversal in the Battle of the Stars. If Long hadn't intervened at the last moment, the host region would have suffered a calamity. In the Xianmi Sky region, the cultivators of the host region and northern Dao region respected Longwen. Their evaluation of Longwen even surpassed that of the four Dao masters. The Longwen you're familiar with is Alliance Master Zhuo's other identity. His name in the Starry Sky battlefield is Longwen. Ho Tiangang's last sentence was like a heavy bomb, and the entire hall was in an uproar. Sect Master, you're not lying to us, are you? That Longwen has always been elusive and mysterious. Is this person really that Longwen? Yes, I have some doubts too. After all, there's no proof. The hall was very lively, but there were more doubts in the discussion. Zhuo had been sitting in the assistant seat the whole time. He silently looked at the noisy hall. He already understood why Ho Tiangang asked him to come to the meeting hall to discuss the matter of the red sun pill. It turned out that Ho Tiangang suspected his other identity. However, it wasn't convenient for Ho Tiangang to say it, so he used this meeting to let the higher-ups raise their doubts. Brother Zhuo is indeed Longwen. I saw Brother Zhuo activate the Starry Sky Pagoda Cannon on the battlefield and defeat the foreign race army with my own eyes. Jiang Qixing stood up from his seat and began to defend Zhuowen. Qixing, I'm not suspecting Alliance Master Zhuo, but I want him to prove his identity as Longwen. If he is, then we won't say anything, but if he isn't, humph. The old man on the left was very active and interrupted Jiang Qixing's words. Zhuowen looked at Ho Tiangang and Zhou Guan and said indifferently, "You too." I didn't come to the sun-chasing temple to prove that I'm Longwen. My purpose is the red sun pill. This thing has nothing to do with whether I'm Longwen or not, right? Chapter 3092. Secrets. The hall was completely silent, and Ho Tiangang finally broke the silence. Ho Tiangang smiled and said, Alliance Master Zhua, I already know why you're here. To tell you the truth, that Pale Dawn Azure Sun Red has already withered. Even if I give it to you, you won't be able to use it. That's fine. As long as Sect Master Ho is willing to give this Pale Dawn Azure Sun Red to me, I won't let you suffer a loss. This thing is very important to me, Zhuowen said in a deep voice. Ho Tiangang fell silent and rubbed his hands. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became subtle. Zhou Guan, who was sitting on the left side, revealed a helpless expression and secretly transmitted his voice to Zhuowen. Alliance Master, I've already discussed this matter with Sect Master several times. He believes that this Pale Dawn Azure Sun Red is very important and won't easily take it out. However, if you can prove that you are Longwen, you will receive the respect of everyone in the hall. The chances of Sect Master taking out the Pale Dawn Azure Sun Red to give it to you are very high. Zhuowen glanced at Zhou Guan. He knew that Zhou Guan was reminding him. Ever since the battle in the Starry Sky Tower, Longwen's reputation in the human race was too great. Almost everyone was looking for Longwen. If they could really come into contact with Longwen, it would be icing on the cake for any faction in the Xian Mi Heavenly Domain. However, if they came into contact with a fake Longwen and were found out, they would probably be reduced to a laughingstock. That was why Ho Tiangang was so cautious. He suspected that Zhuowen didn't have another identity called Longwen. Everyone, since all of you are aware of Longwen, you should also be aware that Longwen has done an earth-shaking thing, right? Zhuowen suddenly stood up. He looked around him and spoke in a faint voice. An earth-shattering thing? I've heard that Zhuowen seems to have captured the Phoenix People Saintess. That's why the foreign races were chasing after him. The first old man on the left said. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and released the Phoenix People Saintess from the outside world. The Phoenix People Saintess was bound in thick chains. The moment she appeared, the temperature in the hall rose to a terrifying level. It was as if the entire hall was in a furnace. This is the Phoenix People Saintess? Ho's face stiffened. Although he had never seen the Saintess of the Phoenix People, he had collected information about the Phoenix People Saintess during the Foreign Races War. Therefore, the moment the chained Saintess appeared in front of him, he knew that she was the genuine Saintess of the Phoenix clan. Longwen, what are you doing? The Phoenix clan's holy maiden's eyes were a little confused. Then, she glared at Longwen, who was beside her. It's Saintess, the Saintess Dawness. You to be the Saintess of the Phoenix People Saintess was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. A ball of fire appeared in her beautiful eyes and shot out toward Zhuowen. Zhuowen flicked his finger, and the ball of fire was immediately deflected. The chains on the Phoenix People's Saintess lit up with a scarlet light. The Phoenix People's Saintess groaned in pain. Her beautiful body writhed and looked extremely seductive. Zhuowen waved his sleeve and put the Phoenix People's Saintess back into the outside world. Then he looked at the embarrassed Ho Tiangang, who was sitting on the main seat. Brother Longwen, I was rude just now. Please forgive me. You know that your identity is very important to the human race, so I have to be careful when dealing with your identity. Ho Tiangang quickly stood up and walked toward Zhuowen. He bowed 90 degrees and apologized sincerely. Everyone in the hall stood up and bowed to Zhuowen in apology. Zhuowen had proven his identity and deserved their respect. Sect leader Ho is too polite. I came to disturb you this time because the pale glow-green sun red is very important to me. As long as sect leader Ho is willing to hand it over to me, I, Zhuowen, will not let you suffer a loss. Zhuowen also cupped his hands toward Ho Tiangang. He was not angry about the latter's behavior. Zhuowen was not angry. If it were him, He would not easily believe the one-sided words of others. Alliance leader Zhua, I'm afraid this will be a little difficult. How about this, you come with me first? Ho Tiangang was a little hesitant. He signaled everyone in the hall to leave. Only Ho Tiangang, Zhou Guan, and Zhuowen were left in the hall. Zhuowen did not speak. He just looked at Ho Tiangang. He knew that what the latter was going to say next should be related to the green sun red pill. Alliance leader Zhua, our chasing sun temple indeed obtained the green sun red pill, this kind of heaven-reaching divine medicine, by chance. However, that green sun red pill is indeed constantly withering. Ho Tiangang said, I know about this. Zhuowen said. Ho Tiangang smiled bitterly and said, even if the green sun red pill is withering, I can still bring you to take a look. But now I'm afraid I can't do it. Why is that? Zhuowen asked in surprise. You come with me to take a look and you'll know. Ho Tiangang did not speak anymore. He led Zhuowen out of the hall. Walking out of the hall, they passed through a very remote and narrow path. The three people walked for 2 hours. Ho Tiangang stopped at the end of the path. He saw that at the end stood an arched stone door made of white marble. However, the white marble on the surface of the arched stone door was somewhat yellowed. Clearly, it was very old. On the other side of the arched stone door was a dark and empty space. The moment Zhuowen saw the arched stone door, he used his divine sense to explore the dark space behind the arched stone door. However, he found that his divine sense was actually suppressed in the dark space. Furthermore, he sensed an extremely terrifying killing intent within the dark space. This killing intent actually gave him a very familiar feeling. Is there a small world behind this arched stone door? Zhuowen looked at Ho Tiangang beside him and asked, Yes, this small world was left behind by the founder of our Chasing Sun Temple. There are many resources left by the founder for the sect. All these years, the Chasing Sun Temple has been able to stand tall all because of the resources in this small world. Moreover, the green sun red pill also exists in this small world. It's just that no one can enter our sun-chasing temple now. Speaking of this, Ho Tiangong's mouth was full of a bitter smile and some regret. Zhuowen glanced at Ho Tiangang. The moment he saw Ho Tiangang in the hall, he found that this person had quite a serious internal injury. It seemed that Ho Tiangong's internal injury should be related to the changes in this small world. In this small world, there are countless resources, and it is very safe. However, there is an exception. That place is a forbidden area that the founder warned. No one of the younger generation can touch it. That forbidden area imprisons a golden crow that was once defeated by the founder. The golden crow was severely injured and sealed in the forbidden area. The golden crow was sealed by a crimson divine arrow. At that time, I thought that the severely injured golden crow was not enough. In addition, the crimson divine arrow was extraordinary, so I pulled out the crimson divine arrow and the trapped golden crow broke free. Chapter 3093. The golden crow. When Ho Tiangang mentioned that the golden crow had been sealed by a blood-colored divine arrow, Ho Tiangang knew that it was Ho Yi's divine arrow. In the legends, the great shaman Ho Yi had forged 9 divine arrows that had killed 9 golden crows and saved countless lives. The divine arrow on Zhuowen's body was stained with fresh blood, the blood of the golden crow. It was a terrifying divine weapon that had once torn apart the golden crow's body. Now he was lucky enough to find another Ho Yi's divine arrow. That golden crow was too strong. Although it was injured, it still had the strength of a half-step Empyrean Lord. I was caught off guard and was attacked by that beast. I was heavily injured. Ho Tiangang was somewhat ashamed as he muttered in a low voice. Zhuowen nodded. Ho Tiangong's cultivation base was slightly lower than Senki Yin's. He hadn't reached the early Empyrean Lord level, only a half-step Empyrean Lord. Among the 5 Dao palaces of the host domain, the sect masters of the Scarlet Mountain Villa and the 10 Absolutes in Corp sect were both early Empyrean lords. The other 3 were weaker overall. Zhuowen wasn't surprised that Ho Tiangang had been injured by the Golden Crow. Sect Master Ho, you should be able to open the entrance to this lesser dimension, right? Zhuowen asked in a low voice. Of course, but the Golden Crow is wreaking havoc in the lesser dimension. If we go in, we'll be attacked immediately. When I tried to enter the lesser dimension for the second time, I found that it had already become a world of flames. The Golden Crow's strength is also constantly recovering. It's even stronger than the first time. Isn't it a little inappropriate for us to go in now? Ho Tiangong's eyes still held some fear, his voice trembling. Sect Master Ho, you just need to give me the exact location of the Pill Dawn Azure Sun Red in the lesser dimension and let me in alone, Zhuowen said calmly. Alliance Master Zhua, you can't be serious, right? That Golden Crow is even stronger than a half-step Empyrean Lord. Ho Tiangang had long seen that Zhuowen was merely an eternal overlord. Although Zhuowen's other identity was Longwen, he had once displayed great might in the Star Wars. However, that was only possible with the help of the Starry Sky Pagoda's foundation and not with one's own strength. Therefore, Ho Tiangang doubted whether Zhuowen could come out alive after entering the outside world. You don't have to worry about that. After entering the small world, I will deal with it myself, Zhuowen said somewhat helplessly. He knew that Ho Tiangang and the others were worried that his cultivation was not enough. If they knew how powerful Zhuowen's Pangu's sacred body was, perhaps they would not think so. Of course, the Pangu's sacred body was Zhuowen's biggest secret. He would not tell anyone about it easily. Ho Tiangang and Zhou Guan looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. Ho Tiangang sighed and said, Alliance Master Zhua, wait for me here. I'll call some people to go in with you. It's too dangerous for you to go in alone. After Ho Tiangang finished speaking, he hurriedly left. Zhuowen could not stop him even if he wanted to. After a while, Ho Tiangang came back with 4 people. Zhuowen had seen these 4 people in the hall before. They were all experts at the late-stage creation realm and above. One of them was an old man whose cultivation had reached the peak of the creation realm. This old man was the first old man sitting on the left side of the hall. Zhuowen remembered that this old man's name was Gu Fa. He was the only Grand Elder of the Sun-Chasing Temple. His status was only below Zhou Guan and Ho Tiangang. Alliance Master Zhua, we will go in with you. As long as we pick the Red Sun pill, we will immediately withdraw. Ho Tiangang said cautiously. Zhuowen looked deeply at Ho Tiangang. Ho Tiangang was very cautious in dealing with people, but he treated people quite sincerely. At least, this made Zhuowen feel very comfortable. Thank you for your kind intentions, Sect Master Ho. If we can successfully obtain the Red Sun pill, the Sun-Chasing Temple will become the most important ally of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Zhuowen promised. Ho Tiangang was overjoyed. He had helped Zhuowen to repay Zhuowen's kindness in repelling the foreign tribes. More importantly, he wanted to build a good relationship with Zhuowen. The young man in front of him was the Alliance Master of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. He had also saved so many people in the Star Wars battlefield. His reputation was too high, and his future was limitless. If he did not befriend such a young talent, he would be a retard. Then let's go in now. Zhuowen nodded. Ho Tiangong's gaze was grave. He took out a jade pendant and opened the restrictions on the arched stone door. Instantly, a wave of heat swept over. It was as if Ho Tiangang had not opened the door but the vent of a furnace. Quickly go in. Alchemist Zhou, wait outside. If there are any accidents, I will inform you in advance. After Ho Tiangang instructed Zhou Guan, he let everyone in without turning his head back. Zhuowen surveyed the surroundings of the small dimension. His gaze became extremely grave. There were no living creatures in this small dimension. Everywhere he looked, there were raging flames burning fiercely. In the sky and on the ground, everywhere he looked was filled with flames. In the distant horizon, Zhuowen saw that in the center of the small dimension, the raging flames had formed a terrifying firestorm. In the firestorm, a three-legged golden crow was faintly discernible. It was constantly flying around in the firestorm. Every time it flew around, the firestorms might become even more terrifying and turbulent. What's wrong with this golden crow? Zhuowen pointed at the golden crow in the firestorm. The golden crow is destroying the blood-colored divine arrow. According to the records left behind by the ancestral master, this golden crow was injured by the blood-colored divine arrow. That's why it was forcefully suppressed by the ancestral master. Therefore, the moment this golden crow broke out of the seal, it immediately attacked the blood-colored divine arrow, wanting to completely destroy it. Ho Tiangong's eyes were filled with fear as he explained to Zhuowen. Right now, the golden crow hasn't discovered that we've entered. Let's hurry to the red sun pill and pick it. Then we'll quickly leave this small dimension. Gu Fa said. Yes, this is an opportunity. Let's go. After Ho Tiangang finished speaking, he led the way in front and rushed into the depths of the small dimension. Zhuowen followed behind unhurriedly. Speaking of which, he needed the red sun pill, and he didn't want to let go of the blood-colored divine arrow. At that time, he would probably have to face the golden crow directly. However, Zhuowen wasn't afraid. The golden crow was already severely injured and was very afraid of the Ho-I godly arrow. Not only did he have the Ho-I godly arrow, but he also had the Ho-I godly bow. This thing was very effective against the golden crow. Soon, the group entered the depths of the small dimension. There was a small mountain there. However, this small mountain was covered in flames and became a mountain of flames. At the top of the mountain of flames, a flower burning with blood-colored flames was blooming brightly. The blood-red color in the mountain of flames was so enchanting. Red Sun Pill. Chapter 3094. Ho Tiangang, Sect Leader Ho. Didn't you say that the green sun red had withered? Why do I feel that the green sun red is full of vitality? Zhuowen's eyes were filled with confusion as he looked at the bewitching flower at the top of the mountain of flames. Ho Tiangong's eyes were also filled with doubt as he said, "The last time I came here, the green sun red was indeed on the verge of withering. The red sun pill is born in a high-temperature environment. I'm afraid that the golden crow's fire has become the nourishment of the red sun pill." It gave the withered green sun red a new lease of life. Gu Fa suddenly opened his mouth and gave a reasonable explanation. Zhuowen nodded. Gu Fa's explanation was correct. The green sun red was naturally suited to high-temperature environments, and the golden crow's fire energy was even more unusual. Therefore, the green sun red was naturally rejuvenated after absorbing the golden crow's fire, and it was even growing stronger and stronger. Alliance Leader Zhuo, I'll go get the green sun red for you. Gu Fa spoke once again. With a stomp of his right foot, he shot forward and charged towards the flame mountain. The moment Gu Fa rushed out, the other three deliberately blocked in front of Zhuowen. Zhuowen looked at this scene, then turned to Ho Tiangang in front of him and said indifferently, "Sect Leader Ho, what is the meaning of this?" Ho Tiangong's eyes flickered as he laughed dryly. "Alliance Chief Zhuo, we are also protecting you. Once Elder Gu Fa takes back the green sun red pill, we will immediately retreat. At that time, we will naturally hand the green sun red pill to you." Zhuowen fell silent. He could already guess what Ho Tiangang and the others were thinking. At first, Ho Tiangang had readily agreed to hand over the green sun red because it was about to wither, so he didn't care. But now, the green sun red was rejuvenated under the effects of the golden crow's fire. Ho Tiangang and the others began to think. This was a genuine divine medicine of the heavens. A withered divine medicine was naturally worthless, but one in perfect condition was priceless. Other Tao Palace factions might not even be able to come up with a single divine medicine of the heavens. Sect Leader Ho, I hope you can abide by your words. Zhuo looked deeply at Ho Tiangang, but he didn't say anything and just stood there silently. If it wasn't for Jiang Qixing, Zhuo might have attacked him just now. Now, he didn't want to wait and see how Ho Tiangang would deal with this Sunday. If the results didn't satisfy him, Zhuo he wouldn't. Ho Tiangang smiled Ho Tiangang. Ho Tiangang's words. Zhuowen's hua was SSS. Even though Zhuo was the Pill Array Immortal Alliance's alliance head recommended by many pill refiners and array Dao masters, the people from the Pill Array Dao Domain's assessment had yet to come out, so he wasn't the official alliance head. Moreover, even if he really was the Pill Array Immortal Alliance's alliance head, compared to the priceless heaven-piercing divine herb, the latter was naturally more important. Studio Gu Fe's Lu was. Gu Fe's strength wasn't bad. He released his peak creation master's power and formed a strong shield around him as he rushed to the top of the mountain. The moment Gu Fe charged into the mountain of flames, the golden crow that was destroying the blood-colored divine arrows in the center of the firestorm in the sky sensed something. His eyes, which were emitting golden light, were filled with terrifying anger. It did not expect that someone would dare to secretly covet the Danxia Qingyang Red that it had set its eyes on while it was busy preparing the god of destruction arrow. This stalk of red sun pill was indeed about to wither, but the golden crow had taken a fancy to this stalk of divine herb, so it used its own blood essence and golden crow flames to continuously nurture the red sun pill. In the end, the green sun red pill was revived. But now, someone dared to touch what it wanted. They didn't know how to spell the word death. A piercing cry resounded through the clouds. Immediately, a three-legged golden crow rushed out from the firestorm in the middle of the sky and rushed towards the flame mountain on this side. Ho Tiangang and the others were shocked. Ho Tiangang hurriedly transmitted his voice to Gu Fe, telling him to move faster. Gu Fe naturally did not dare to be negligent. He practically risked his old life and desperately rushed towards the top of the mountain. Unfortunately, when Gu Fe reached the top of the mountain and his right hand was about to touch the red sun pill, he suddenly stopped. The golden crow's gigantic body had already landed on the top of the flame mountain. It opened its mouth and golden flames scattered into sparks as it swept towards Gu Fe. Just a little more. Gu Fe's eyes revealed a ruthless look. He recklessly grabbed the red pill azure sun and planned to leave. Unfortunately, the moment he stretched out his hand, the fire stars condensed into a flaming saber and cut off Gu Fe's right arm. Furthermore, that golden flame was extremely terrifying. The instant it came into contact with the ancient technique, it was as if someone had poured oil on it, and it instantly started burning. Gu Fe's right shoulder was burned into nothingness. No. Gu Fe let out a blood-curdling scream and made a prompt decision. He directly dislocated his right shoulder, and the red pill azure sun naturally fell back onto the top of the mountain. The instant he removed his right shoulder, Gu Fe began to flee. The golden crow was too terrifying. It almost killed him in one blow. If he was hit again, he would definitely die. The golden crow ignored the red pill azure sun and chased after Gu Fe with its fiery eyes. Not good. The golden crow found us. Let's run. Ho Tiangang's expression changed drastically. Looking at the golden crow that was chasing after Gu Fe, he immediately used his movement technique and rushed towards the exit of the pocket dimension. Ho Tiangang and the other three were in a hurry to escape. Therefore, when they were escaping, they did not notice that Zhuo, who was standing behind them, had disappeared. Sect Master, save me. Suddenly, Gu Fe's blood-curdling scream came from behind. Gu Fe was enveloped by the golden crow's flames. His entire body was engulfed in golden flames, and he turned into a golden flaming man. He continuously cried out for help towards Ho Tiangang and the others. Ho Tiangang's scalp went numb. He did not even look back as he increased his movement technique's speed. He only wanted to get rid of the golden crow behind him as soon as possible. Gu Fe was in despair. He knelt on the ground as his body gradually turned into nothingness under the burning of the golden flames. However, Gu Effe's consciousness was very clear, especially when it came to pain. This made Gu Effe die in agony. The golden crow was extremely fast. It quickly caught up with Ho Tiangang and the others. It suddenly spat out a mouthful of golden flames. The cultivator running at the back was immediately set ablaze. He let out a blood-curdling scream and fell to the ground, motionless. Then, the remaining 2 cultivators met with the same fate. Ho Tiangong's heart sank to the bottom. When he saw the golden crow behind him looking at him with murderous eyes, his eyelids twitched. Boom! Golden flames gushed forth as Ho Tiangang took out a golden halberd. This sky piercer was golden, and there were patterns of the sun at the top. Chapter 3095. The sorrowful cry of the golden crow in the center of the sky. A terrifying firestorm span between heaven and earth, like a bridge connecting heaven and earth. However, this bridge was a bridge of destruction. Any living creature that wanted to enter would be torn into countless pieces by the terrifying tearing force of the firestorm. Zhuo Wen stood at the bottom of the firestorm. The fierce wind brought with it a scorching heat, blowing Zhuo Wen's shoulder-length hair into a messy mess. The moment the golden crow let out a cry, Zhuo Wen had already left quietly. Since there was another Hou-Yi arrow in the firestorm, Zhuo Wen naturally did not intend to let it go. While the golden crow was attracted by the ancient method, Zhuo Wen came here. Zhuo Wen raised his head and looked at the top of the firestorm. He vaguely saw a blood-colored arrow in the roaring flames. Zhuo Wen did not hesitate. His body burst out with sparkling light. He directly punched at the bottom of the firestorm. The terrifying fist strength tore a gap as tall as a person at the bottom of the firestorm, and he entered the gap. After entering the center of the firestorm, Zhuo Wen kicked his feet and flew straight up. He knew that the other Hou-Yi arrow was at the top of the firestorm. However, the tearing force in the center of the firestorm was more terrifying than the outside. Even Zhuo Wen's Pangu, sacred body, could not withstand it. After flying for a while, his body was torn into many wounds. There were even some large chunks of flesh on his body that had been torn apart and sent flying. Fortunately, Zhuo Wen's recovery ability was very strong. While his flesh was being torn apart, his physical injuries were also being healed. After an hour, Zhuo Wen finally arrived at the mouth of the firestorm with difficulty. At the mouth of the firestorm, a blood-colored arrow was trapped by a ball of golden flames. Inside the ball, the golden flames were constantly jumping and bursting with a fierce, corrosive force, constantly eroding the blood-colored arrow. Zhuo Wen could feel that the temperature inside the sphere was terrifyingly high. Even he was wary of it. However, the blood-red arrow was still intact. Other than the blood stains on the surface of the arrow being burned by the golden flames, revealing the greenish-yellow color of the arrow, there was basically no damage. However, Zhuo Wen's eyes were very sharp. He could see that there was a small amount of greenish-yellow liquid on the surface of the blood-red god arrow. This should be a sign that the blood-red god arrow was melted by the high temperature. There was no doubt that if this blood-colored divine arrow was exposed to such golden flames for a long time, it would eventually melt into a greenish-yellow liquid. Zhuo Wen's fist slammed into the sphere, instantly triggering a terrifying backlash of golden flames. Zhuo Wen's right fist was immediately burned into nothingness. Zhuo Wen kept retreating, but the golden flame was relentless. It chased after Zhuo Wen like a bloody maw, wanting to swallow Zhuo Wen whole. Zhuo Wen's eyes were calm. He took out a jade bottle and opened the cork. The backlash of the golden flame actually stopped its forward momentum and began to retreat. Unfortunately, an even more blazing golden flame suddenly surged out of the jade bottle and swallowed the golden flame that was devoured by the backlash. After a while, the entire sphere of golden flames was absorbed by the jade bottle. Zhuo Wen put the cork back on the bottle and put the blood-colored arrow into the great world. Inside the jade bottle was the bloodline of the 99 phoenix body that Juoin had extracted from the Phoenix People Saintess. This bloodline was a powerful bloodline born from fire, and it was extremely effective against fire. The Golden Crow's flames were indeed extraordinary, but in front of the 99 phoenix body, they were just a drizzle. They were completely restrained. Juoin rushed out of the firestorm and immediately rushed towards the mountain of flames where the green sun, red, was growing. It was a pleasant surprise that he was able to obtain the second Ho-E divine arrow, but this time his main goal was the green sun, red. When the sphere of flames in the firestorm was destroyed by Juoin, the golden crow that was chasing after Ho Tiangang burst out with a furious cry. Immediately, it gave up on Ho Tiangang and rushed towards the depths of the small world like a falling star. Ho Tiangang stopped and spat out a mouthful of blood. His clothes were ragged as he knelt on one knee on the ground, gasping for breath. He was really chased by the golden crow to the point where there was nowhere to go. He almost died in the golden crow's hands. If the golden crow had continued to chase him, he was afraid that he wouldn't have been able to reach the exit. The people I brought and have all died. What's going on with the golden crow? It seems like it was enraged by someone. Ho Tiangang looked at the departing figure of the golden crow with a puzzled expression. But soon he thought of Juoin. When they were escaping, they didn't see Juoin. It seems that Juoin secretly went to seize the green sun, red alone. Ho Tiangong's eyes flickered. He was a little hesitant about whether he should go over and take a look. After all, the green sun, red, was a divine medicine of the heaven reaching divine level. Moreover, it was saved by the golden crow. This thing was too precious, comparable to all the treasures of the sun-chasing temple. Such a precious thing was a big temptation for Ho Tiangang. Who would give it up so easily? I still have 2 billion mile escape talismans. If I really feel that something is wrong, I will immediately use the billion-mile escape talismans to leave this place. Ho Tiangang was tempted. After comforting himself, he followed the golden crow from afar. After a while, Ho Tiangang came to the mountain of flames where the green sun, red, was planted. He saw a figure pick up the green sun, red, that fell on the top of the mountain of flames and put away the divine medicine without any hesitation. At this moment, the golden crow had already arrived at the top of the mountain of flames. Seeing this person put away the green sun, red, it was so angry that it kept shouting and swooping down. This Juoin is so bold. Why didn't he run away? Ho Tiangang originally thought that Juoin would turn around and run away the instant he put away the pale, glow azure sun, red pill. However, he didn't expect that guy to stand where he was without moving at all. Moreover, he even raised his head and used a scrutinizing posture to size up the golden crow. This guy thought that he was admiring an exquisite sculpture. This was a terrifying exotic beast that could destroy everything. This guy must be crazy. Ho Tiangang began to retreat. He felt that Juoin was doomed. However, Juoin's death did him no good. The green sun, red, would definitely be taken away by the golden crow. He was no match for the golden crow, so he had no chance to get the green sun, red. Bang! Suddenly, Ho Tiangang was stunned. He found that the moment the golden crow swooped into the mountain of flames, a bloody light with soaring, killing intent whistled into the sky. It drilled into the golden crow's chest and passed through the middle of its wings. That terrifying force sent the golden crow flying backward. The golden crow let out a sorrowful cry that it had never let out since ancient times. That sorrowful cry was filled with endless fear and panic. What's going on? Ho Tiangang looked at Juoin in a daze. Only then did he see that Juoin was standing on the top of the mountain of flames, holding a bloody bow in his left hand and maintaining the posture of shooting a divine arrow with his right hand. Chapter 3096. Tails obliterate golden blood rained down from the sky, as if an enormous mountain of gold had melted in the sky. This was the blood of the golden crow. When the blood landed on the ground, it sizzled as if something was being burned. Thick white Smoke rose from the area where the golden rain fell, and the flat ground became full of potholes and was full of devastation. The sorrowful cries of the golden crow resounded in the sky. It flapped its wings violently, forcibly stopping the arrow from moving backwards. The instant it stopped moving backwards, the golden crow still had the blood-red arrow in its chest. It stared at the distant Zhuowen in fear, withstanding the terrifying killing intent of the blood-red arrow as it retreated continuously. This Ho Yi's divine arrow really is the bane of the golden crow. Zhuowen looked at the golden crow, whose body was pierced by the Ho Yi's divine arrow and could not even fly. His gaze was calm as he took out the other Ho Yi's divine arrow he had just obtained. The bloodstains on the surface of this Ho Yi's divine arrow had already been burned away by the golden crow's flames. At this moment, the arrow was greenish-yellow in color and had a hint of sharpness to it. When Zhuowen knocked this Ho Yi's divine arrow onto the bowstring of the Ho Yi divine bow, he felt an unprecedented throbbing in his heart. This is the true form of the Ho Yi's divine arrow. Zhuowen glanced at the greenish-yellow arrow in his hand that had been pulled into a full moon shape. Logically speaking, the Ho Yi's divine arrow was powerful enough to shoot down a golden crow, but Zhuowen's arrow just now had only seriously injured the golden crow. Zhuowen began to suspect that the Ho Yi's divine arrow he had obtained was somewhat different. Now he finally understood why the power was different. The main reason was probably that the golden crow's blood on the surface of the arrow had weakened the power of the arrow. The first Ho Yi's divine arrow he had obtained was almost completely covered in blood. He knew that it was the golden crow's blood, so the power of the Ho Yi's divine arrow could not be maximized. The second Ho Yi's divine arrow in his hand had already been burned away by the golden crow's flames. This was the true Ho Yi's divine arrow. Bang! Zhuowen loosened his right hand, and the second arrow shot out. On the surface of the arrow, there was an earth-shattering golden light, and the killing intent contained within it far surpassed that of the first arrow. It was a biting cold and murderous aura. This arrow was too fast and too fierce. However, the moment the arrow entered the golden crow's body, golden blood mist burst out from the golden crow's body. In the end, the golden crow abruptly exploded into a cloud of bloody mist. Not even its bones remained. Zhuowen put away the two Ho Yi divine arrows, jumped down from a mountain of flames, and walked to the front of Ho Tiangang, who was already in a daze. Sect leader Ho, the matter here has been settled. We should go out now. Zhuowen reminded him faintly. Ho Tiangong's entire body trembled. He lowered his head, not daring to look at Zhuowen. He could only respond and silently lead the way in front. At this moment, Ho Tiangang was very regretful. If he had known that Zhuowen's strength was so terrifying, he wouldn't have dared to provoke him. Now that Zhuowen asked him to lead the way, he didn't dare to resist. After all, after seeing Danxia Qingyang being saved by the golden crow, he did have some evil thoughts. If Zhuowen was in a bad mood, it would be easy to kill him. Alliance leader Zhua, I was wrong just now. You, walking to the exit, Ho Tiangang turned around and bowed to Zhuowen. His tone was sincere and even had a hint of flattery. Zhuowen glanced at Ho Tiangang indifferently and said, Sect leader Ho, I hate people who go back on their word the most. In the past, many people went back on their word during the process of cooperating with me, and without exception, they didn't have a good ending. And this time, you played the same trick. Ho Tiangong's forehead was covered in cold sweat. He hurriedly knelt on the ground to express his apology. Ho Tiangang knew that he had underestimated Zhuowen. This person was able to amaze everyone in the Star Wars battlefield and was even elected as the alliance leader of the Pale Array Immortal Alliance. He was definitely not a simple person. Moreover, he had seen with his own eyes that this person cleanly got rid of the golden crow. This made Ho Tiangang subconsciously think that Zhuowen was much stronger than him. If he fought against him, he would definitely die. Of course, Zhuowen could easily kill the golden crow because Ho Yi's divine arrow restrained the golden crow. If Zhuowen were to fight the golden crow, he might be suppressed. However, Ho Tiangang naturally didn't know about this. He imagined Zhuowen to be a super expert. Don't worry, sect leader Ho. I won't do anything to you. I just want to remind you that Jiang Qixing is my good friend. I hope sect leader Ho can treat brother Jiang well in the future. Zhuowen looked deeply at Ho Tiangang and continued, Now open the exit. Ho Tiangang did as he was told, and the two of them left the small world. At the exit, Zhou Guan saw that Ho Tiangang and Zhuowen had both come out. However, his expression immediately became unsightly. Apart from Ho Tiangang and Zhuowen, no one else had come out. Zhou Guan went up to receive him and asked in confusion, Sect leader, where are Elder Gu Fa and the others? They unfortunately died in the small world. Ho Tiangang said sadly, What, that golden crow did it? Zhou Guan's expression changed greatly, and his voice was slightly angry. Yes. However, that golden crow was also killed by Alliance leader Zhua, Ho Tiangang said. Zhou Guan opened his mouth in shock. He looked at Zhuowen and asked, Sect leader, that golden crow was killed by you and Alliance leader Zhua. Ho Tiangang shook his head and said, It was Alliance leader Zhua who killed the golden crow alone. I'm far inferior to him. What? Alliance leader? Zhou Guan was really shocked. He looked at Zhuowen in disbelief. It was just luck. Zhuowen shook his head, then looked at Ho Tiangang and said, Sect leader Ho, brother Jiang is my friend. I hope you can nurture him well. Ho Tiangang bowed respectfully and hurriedly agreed. He had the attitude of a subordinate, and Zhou Guan was dumbfounded. After all, Ho Tiangang was the sect leader of the sun-chasing temple. Now he was actually bowing to Zhuowen. This was really too crazy. That's right, Alliance leader. The people from the Alchemy Array Dao domain are already sending people over. I just received a notice that they will arrive at the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance in about half a month. Zhou Guan said to Zhuowen, Yes, I have already settled the matters at the Sun-Chasing Temple. Since the people from the Alchemy Array Dao domain are about to arrive, let's return to the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance first. Zhuowen nodded and left the Sun-Chasing Temple with Zhou Guan. Originally, he wanted to stay in the Sun-Chasing Temple for a few more days. However, Ho Tiangang's actions in the small world had disappointed him. He could not stay here any longer. However, before leaving, he sent a farewell message to Jiang Qixing. This time he planned to directly head to the Primitive Heaven domain after settling the matters at the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance. Chapter 3097. Alchemy Array Immortal lured in the void at the border of the host region. A stream of light flashed past and stopped on a huge meteorite floating in the starry sky. It was an extremely large spaceship that resembled a shell. Two figures stood on the deck of the spaceship, one old and one young. Both of them wore long robes. Their robes were similar to those worn by the alchemists and formation masters of the host region. However, the patterns on their robes were different from those of the alchemists and formation masters of the host region. In the host region, the pattern on the alchemy master's robes was a pill furnace, while the pattern on the formation Tao master's robes was the outline of a great array. The pattern on the chest of these two people's robes was more like the combination of a pill furnace and a large formation. It looked like both a pill furnace and a large formation. It was a strange pattern. The young man looked to be in his 20s. He had long reddish-brown hair, a fair face, and a sharp nose. He was even more beautiful than a woman. The old man standing beside the young man looked to be in his 70s. However, his gaze was extremely sharp, like an eagle hunting its prey, ready to attack at any time. The young man stood behind the old man with a respectful gaze. The old man in front of him had an extremely high status in the Alchemy Array Dao domain. He was a powerful existence that stood at the peak of the Alchemy Array Dao domain. It was said that the old man's alchemy Tao and formation Tao had reached the peak of the creation grade and was not far from the heaven grade. It was a great honor for the young man to be brought to the host region by the old man. Wenlin, do you know why I was sent to the host region to assess the new alliance leader and why I brought you along? The old man suddenly spoke with his hands behind his back. He turned around and looked at the young man named Wenlin. Wenlin was at a loss and shook his head. I plan to let you take over the position of alliance leader of the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance in the host region, the old man said slowly. The young man looked surprised and puzzled. To be honest, the young man was not very interested in the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance in the other 4 Tao domains. This was because the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance in the other 4 Tao domains added together was far inferior to the Alchemy Array Tao domain. In the Pill Array Tao domain, the standard of the Pill Tao and Array Tao had already reached a very high level. The Pill Array Immortal Alliance of the other 4 Tao domains had been left far behind. The young man was very ambitious. He did not want to just be the leader of another precept domain and not be able to explore a higher realm for the rest of his life. His goal was the Alchemy Array Tao domain. Only in the Alchemy Array Tao domain would his Alchemy Tao and Array Tao be able to break through to the Heaven Ascension level. It was simply impossible in other places. I know you're confused. Now I'll tell you why I did it. The old man turned around and looked at the young man seriously before continuing. The Eastern Immortal Alliance is the Pill Array Immortal Alliance of the host region. The first leader of the Eastern Immortal Alliance, Xian Yangdong, was the eldest disciple of the Pill Array Immortal Monarch. The eldest disciple of the Alchemy Array Tao domain's founder, the Alchemy Array Immortal Monarch? The youth revealed a look of shock. The Alchemy Array Immortal Lord was too famous in the Alchemy Array Tao domain. A long time ago, the Xianmi Heavenly Domain only had the North, South, East, and West Tao domains, and the Tao of Alchemy and the Tao of Formations were still at the stage of being a blind man trying to figure out the elephant. However, in that era, an earth-shattering figure had appeared. This person was known as the Alchemy Array Immortal Lord in later generations. The Alchemy Array Immortal Lord had an especially strong comprehension of the Alchemy Tao and Array Tao. He created many pill recipes and array formations, and wrote them into records that were passed down. The later Alchemy Array Immortal Lord made a shocking move. This move was to expand an additional domain within the Xianmi Heavenly Domain. This domain was called the Alchemy Array Tao domain by him. Originally, the appearance of a Tao domain in the Xianmi Heavenly Domain for no reason would easily cause the dissatisfaction of the other 4 Tao domains, which would then lead to a terrifying war. However, ever since the Alchemy Array Tao domain was established, there had never been a war. The main reason was that when the Alchemy Array Immortal Lord established the Tao domain, he announced to the outside world that the Alchemy Array Tao domain welcomed all cultivators who were interested in the Alchemy Tao and Array Tao to cultivate in the Alchemy Array Tao domain. All the forces of the 4 Tao domains realized that the establishment of the Alchemy Array Tao domain was an opportunity for them. They all sent their alchemy masters and Array Tao masters to the Alchemy Array Tao domain to cultivate. The Alchemy Array Tao domain kept its promise and did its best to nurture the Earth alchemy masters and Array Tao masters sent by the 4 Tao domains. After completing their studies, the alchemy masters and Array Tao masters returned to their forces with feelings of gratitude towards the Alchemy Array Tao domain. They also praised the Alchemy Array Tao domain greatly. As the Alchemy Array Tao domain's reputation grew, more and more forces followed suit. The Alchemy Array Tao domain's reputation also rose during this period. As a result, not only was the newly established Alchemy Array Tao domain not rejected, it became more and more popular. In the end, it developed into a powerful and unique Tao domain that surpassed the 4 Tao domains. When the Alchemy Array Tao domain developed to its peak, there was no news of the Alchemy Array Immortal Lord. Before the Alchemy Array Immortal Lord completely disappeared, His last decision was to establish the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance in the other 4 Tao domains. They were called the East, South, West, and North Immortal Alliances. Xingyangding was the eldest disciple of the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance. After the Alchemy Array Immortal Lord mysteriously disappeared, Xingyangding went to the Eastern Immortal Alliance and became the first Alliance Master of the Eastern Immortal Alliance. Before Xingyangding went to the Eastern Immortal Alliance, he took away a very important item. This item was the Alchemy Array Immortal Lord's life's work, the True Alchemy Array Record. It is said that the True Alchemy Array Record contains the secret of transcendence. This item is a treasure that no alchemist or divine array master can refuse, the old man said calmly. The young man understood what the old man meant. The old man wanted him to become the new Alliance Master of the Eastern Immortal Alliance, and then go to the Eastern Immortal Alliance to find the True Alchemy Array Record. Master, I will definitely do this well. I will not disappoint you. The young man was full of fighting spirit and pride. When he was in the Alchemy Array Tao domain, he was already a very famous genius. He cultivated both alchemy and array Tao and had reached the Genesis level. In the Alchemy Array Tao domain, there were no more than a handful of people who could surpass him, let alone the Eastern Immortal Alliance. You still have to be careful. The new Alliance Master that the Eastern Immortal Alliance reported this time is not a simple person. It is said that this guy called Zhuowen personally killed the previous Alliance Master, Jiwuming, and also killed 4 great Immortal Masters. His courage is not ordinary. The old man's voice was very low. The young man's eyes suddenly became serious. He snorted coldly and said, "It seems that he is a scum. He actually killed his own superior. His heart is really black. I will not lose to this kind of scum." The young man was very confident, but the old man secretly shook his head. He continued to scold. "You don't understand at all. The information that came from above said that Zhuowen is a creation-level divine array master. Otherwise, the alchemists and divine array masters in the Eastern Immortal Alliance would not have elected him as the new Alliance Master." The young man frowned slightly and asked, "Master, how is this person's alchemy skills?" The information did not say that. Maybe his alchemy skills are not high. After all, the information mentioned that this Zhuowen is not very old. He might be even younger than you. But don't worry. With me around, the position of Eastern Immortal Alliance Master will definitely be yours. Chapter 3098. Moon-chasing meteor array. The young man frowned slightly, and his eyes revealed a trace of dissatisfaction. Younger than me? Is there a problem with the information sent by the Eastern Immortal Alliance? The young man was one of the best among the younger generation in the Alchemy Array Tao domain. His talent was already strong enough, but his array Tao had only reached the Genesis realm. However, this guy called Zhuowen was from the host region, a Tao domain with low alchemy array standards, yet his array Tao level was above his. The young man did not believe it. The authenticity of the information is still up for debate. When we go to the Eastern Immortal Alliance, we will naturally be able to see Zhuowen. I also want to see what kind of ability this fellow who has been elected has. The old man's mouth revealed a trace of coldness as he spoke indifferently. At this moment, in the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance, Zhou Guan and Feng Yuan were standing in the hall, looking respectfully at the young man sitting in front of the table and carefully reading the Jade Scroll. Zhuowen put away the Jade Scroll and frowned. He said doubtfully, "I heard that in the past the Alchemy Array Tao domain basically sent one person for the assessment. This time they actually sent 2 people. According to the past pattern, that is indeed the case, but this time they sent 2 people. I have heard of both of them. One of them is called Buyangrong, and he is a respected elder in the Alchemy Array Tao domain. His array Tao and alchemy Tao have both reached the peak of the creation realm. It is said that he has already touched the traces of the Heaven Ascension realm." Zhou Guan glanced at the Jade Scroll in Zhuowen's hand and continued, "The other person is called Zhu Wenlin, and he is a genius of the younger generation in the alchemy array Dao domain. He is also Bu Yangrong's favorite disciple. Zhu Wenlin's talent is very terrifying. He has studied the alchemy array Dao for less than 10,000 years, and his level has both reached the Genesis realm. Compared to Bu Yangrong, he has surpassed him. In the future, his alchemy array level is very likely to reach the Heaven Ascension realm. Feng Yuan also frowned slightly and said strangely whether it is Bu Yangrong or Zhu Wenlin. They are both people with high status in the alchemy array Dao domain. They actually requested to come to the Eastern Immortal Alliance as an assessor. Zhou Guan also shook his head in confusion. According to the news they sent, they should be arriving at the Pill Array Immortal Alliance today. Just as Zhuowen spoke, someone came to report that a flying ship had arrived in the outer space of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Looks like they've arrived. Let's go and welcome them. Zhuowen stood up and brought Zhou Guan and Feng Yuan out of the hall. They headed straight for the plaza outside the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Outside the plaza of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance, a flying ship landed in the center of the plaza. Two figures walked down from the flying ship. When Zhuowen arrived at the square, the old man had just put away the spaceship. He put his hands behind his back and said, "Which one of you is Zhuowen?" This old man is the Alchemy Array Dao Region's Bu Yangrong. Why aren't you coming to see me? Zhuowen looked at Bu Yangrong coldly, then stepped forward and cupped his hands towards Bu Yangrong and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "I am Zhuowen. It is our great honor that Senior Bu has come to the Eastern Immortal Alliance this time." "So that's Zhuowen? I've seen the information from the Eastern Immortal Alliance. I heard that your array Dao has reached the creation grade." Bu Yangrong looked down at Zhuowen from above. Zhu Wenlin, who was beside Bu Yangrong, looked on coldly. When he saw that Zhuowen's cultivation was only at the Eternal Overlord realm, he couldn't help but sneer. The requirements for the Alliance Master of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance weren't particularly high. As long as one's alchemy skills met the requirements, it was enough. However, as the Alliance Master, one's cultivation had to be at least at the third step of the Dao validation realm. The cultivation of this young man in front of him was too low. Zhu Wenlin shook his head inwardly. He felt that this Zhuowen was completely unworthy of being his opponent. Moreover, he also suspected that this kid's array Dao skills couldn't possibly be at the creation grade. It was just a fabrication by the people of the Eastern Immortal Alliance. "I'm not talented. This Zhuo's array Dao standard has indeed reached the creation level by luck some time ago," Zhuowen said indifferently. "If that's the case, then set up this array for me to see." Bu Yangrong waved his sleeve and tossed a jade strip to Zhuo when, as he casually said, Zhou Guan, who was following behind Zhuowen, couldn't help but say, "Senior Bu, you must be tired from traveling all the way from the Alchemy Array Dao domain to the Eastern Immortal Alliance. Why don't you rest in the Eastern Immortal Alliance for a night? The assessment can be postponed to the next day. Did I allow you to speak?" Bu Yangrong glanced coldly at Zhou Guan, then immediately looked at Zhuowen and said, "I'm an impatient person. The sooner the assessment, the better. There's no need to delay. I've read the information sent by the Eastern Immortal Alliance. Ji Wuming's actions were indeed inappropriate, but he didn't deserve to die. However, you killed Ji Wuming without permission. This is already a violation of the rules of the Alchemy Array Dao domain. If your Array Dao skills haven't reached the creation grade, then that's cheating. I'll take you back to the Alchemy Array Dao domain and wait for your punishment." Bu Yangrong's voice was very clear in the square. The square was dead silent and no one spoke. They all sensed that something was wrong. The examiner sent by the Alchemy Array Dao domain was aggressive. He didn't come with good intentions. "Of course, if your array Dao skills have indeed reached the creation grade, I'll further assess you." Bu Yangrong's tone softened as he said this. After Zhuowen took the jade slip, he ignored Bu Yangrong and began to check the contents of the array Dao in the jade slip. The jade slip recorded a type of formation called the moon-chasing meteor formation. This was a kind of creation-grade grand array. Moreover, it was one of the more difficult ones to set up. Okay, I'll set up this array now. Zhuowen threw the jade slip back to Buyongrong and immediately took out the beast bone array disk. He formed a seal with both hands and began to set up the array. Buyongrong took the jade slip and looked at Zhuowen's actions in surprise. The moon-chasing meteor array was one of the more powerful and rare creation-grade arrays. It was also very difficult to set up. Even newly advanced creation-grade array Dao masters had a high failure rate. Zhuowen had just advanced, but he was so confident that he could set up such an array in front of Buyongrong. Wasn't he being a little too confident? However, as Zhuowen continued to form seals to set up the array, the outline of an array appeared in the square. Buyongrong's gaze turned serious. He realized that Zhuowen's method of setting up the array was completely correct. It was even simpler and more perfect than the method recorded in the jade slip. This guy has set up the moon-chasing meteor array before. Buyongrong was puzzled, but he soon felt that it was impossible. This was because the method of setting up the array was too brilliant. It didn't seem like a guy who had just advanced to the creation-grade array Dao Master, but more like a veteran. Zhuowen's gaze was focused. The difficulty of setting up the moon-chasing meteor array was rather high, but Zhuowen's array Dao was learned from the True Alchemy Array Record. His method of setting up the array was extremely brilliant, surpassing most of the God Array Dao Masters. The moon-chasing meteor array, which was difficult to set up, wasn't that difficult for him. 2 hours later, Zhuowen stopped. In front of him, a large array was completely formed. Chapter 30-99. Unqualified. When the moon-chasing meteor array was completely formed, the plaza was filled with cheers. The members of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance looked at Zhuowen with even more fervent gazes. Now, no one doubted Zhuowen's standard and strength. Furthermore, he was still so young. Under his leadership, the Eastern Immortal Alliance would definitely surpass the Pill Array Immortal Alliance of other Dao domains. Zhou Guan and Feng Yuan also smiled. They knew that after Zhuowen successfully set up the moon-chasing meteor array, he would be recognized and become the true alliance master of the Eastern Immortal Alliance. Zhuowen's gaze was calm as he looked at Buyongrong and said, "What does Senior Bu think of my moon-chasing meteor array?" Buyongrong nodded slightly and said indifferently, "Your array Dao standard has indeed reached the creation realm. There is no doubt about that. However, I would like to ask, who is your array Dao master? I don't think I've seen your array technique before." Zhuowen looked deeply at Buyongrong and said, "My master is just a wild crane. He rarely moves around the outside world. Senior Bu, you definitely don't know him. Furthermore, my master warned me before that I must not mention his name when I venture out in the future. Your master seems to be an indifferent and ambitious person." Buyongrong nodded slightly and sighed before continuing, "Zhuowen, you probably don't know the minimum requirement to become the Alliance Master of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. To become an Alliance Master, one's cultivation must be at least at the Genesis realm. The Alliance Master's Alchemy Dao and Array Dao must also be at least at the Genesis realm. Your Array Dao standard is very high and I admire it. However, your cultivation is too low and your Alchemy Dao standard is probably not high either. Therefore, you are not qualified to become the Alliance Master of the Eastern Immortal Alliance." When Buyongrong said this, the plaza was silent for a while before it burst into an uproar. No one expected that Zhuowen's final test result would actually be a failure. Although Buyongrong's words made sense, there was no one more suitable and powerful than Zhuowen in the Pill Array Immortal Alliance. Zhou Guan walked forward and bowed to Buyongrong. "Senior Bu, Alliance Master Zhuo, is the most suitable candidate. Other than him, no one else in the Eastern Immortal Alliance is qualified. Alliance Master Zhuo is still young, and his potential is limitless. If he becomes the Eastern Immortal Alliance Master, our Eastern Immortal Alliance's future. Feng Yuan also walked out and stood side by side with Zhou Guan to plead with Buyang Rong. Buyang Rong's eyes were cold as he said faintly, "Don't worry, I have brought a better candidate." As he spoke, Buyang Rong pointed at the youth beside him and continued, "He's my favorite disciple. His name is Zhu Wenlin, Eastern Alliance Master, and Array Dao Alchemy Array Alliance. He meets Eastern Alliance Master. Zhu Feng Array Immortals Alliance was Dao Immortal 1010, Immortal Alliance Immortal Alliance Zhu Wenlin did not even look at Zhuowen. It was as if he had completely ignored Zhuowen. Zhuowen looked on coldly. He finally knew why Buyangrong had brought Zhu Wenlin here. It turned out that he wanted his disciple to become the Eastern Immortal Alliance's Alliance Master. Zhuowen shook his head inwardly. He was dispirited. He knew that the Alchemy Array Immortal Alliance Master selection in each Dao domain mainly depended on the Alchemy Array Dao domain. If the Alchemy Array Dao domain did not agree, no matter how strong Zhuowen was, he would not be able to become the Alliance Master. Fortunately, Zhuowen was not too interested in the Alliance Master position. If those alchemists and Array Dao Masters had not pushed him to become the Alliance Master, he would not have had such thoughts. Since Buyangrong did not intend to let him become the Eastern Immortal Alliance Master, what was the use of arguing? This competition was already unfair to begin with. Was he going to continue wasting his breath? Since Senior Bu feels that I am not qualified, then this shul will not disturb you any further. I still have some important matters to attend to. I will take my leave first." Zhuowen cupped his hands towards Buyangrong. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, he walked out of the plaza. In the plaza, none of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance members asked Zhuowen to stay. Even Zhou Guan and Feng Yuan were silent. Zhuowen shook his head inwardly. He knew that no one in the Pill Array Immortal Alliance would ask him to stay. That would mean completely offending a powerful existence like Buyangrong. Buyangrong was also slightly stunned. He did not expect that Zhuowen would give up so easily. He thought that this kid would argue with all his might. Then he would be able to use the reason of offending his superior to forcefully take him down. After all, this kid's array formation technique was extremely brilliant. It far surpassed the techniques he used. He was somewhat moved. Unfortunately, this Zhuowen gave up too quickly. He could not even find a reason to take him down. "Wait." Suddenly, Zhu Wenlin, who was beside Buyangrong, called out to Zhuowen. Zhuowen turned his head and looked indifferently at Zhu Wenlin. He said, "Is there anything else?" Zhu Wenlin grinned and said, "Since you coveted the position of Eastern Immortal Alliance's alliance head, you should have dabbled in both the Alchemy Dao and Array Dao. I have seen your Array Dao standard. However, I do not know how your Alchemy Dao standard is. How about this? Let's have a pill battle. Let's see which of our Alchemy Dao standards is stronger." Zhuowen frowned. He looked strangely at the arrogant Zhu Wenlin. This guy was too cocky. He actually wanted to have a pill battle with him? Of course, he could also see that this Zhu Wenlin wanted to humiliate him before he left. He wanted to make him understand the consequences of coveting the position of Alliance Head. Zhuowen found it a little funny. He had never coveted the position of Alliance Head. He was just inexplicably nominated by others. Now that he was judged to be unqualified, the monkeys immediately scattered. No one tried to persuade him to stay. It could be seen that even if he became the Alliance Head, what was the use? Waiting to be stabbed in the back by these people in the future? What are you laughing at? Don't tell me you don't dare. You don't even dare to have a pill battle. Previously, you dared to covet the position of Alliance Head. Is a piece of trash like you qualified? Zhu Wenlin crossed his arms in front of his chest and mocked. Zhuowen said indifferently, "Then why don't you compete with me in Array Dao? I am better at Array Dao. Aren't you the future Alliance Head? Naturally, you'll be stronger than a nobody like me. Also, You keep saying that I am a piece of trash. If one day you are not as good as me, then what will you be? Less than trash? Zhu Wenlin's face immediately darkened. He said coldly, "Coward, you don't even dare to have a pill battle. Get lost. Do you dare to say another word?" Zhu Wen stared at Zhu Wenlin. His eyes were filled with a piercing coldness. An invisible aura surged out from the surroundings. Zhu Wenlin's face changed drastically. He could not help but stagger back a few steps, looking at Zhu Wen in horror. That aura just now was really too terrifying. It gave him a feeling of suffocation. This guy was clearly just an eternal overlord. How could he have such a powerful aura? If you don't dare to say, then shut your mouth obediently for me. Zhu Wen withdrew his aura and slowly walked towards Zhu Wenlin. Zhu Wenlin subconsciously took a step back and said, "What do you want to do?" "What do I want to do? Of course it's a pill battle." Chapter 30-100. Pill battle. Zhu Wenlin was first taken aback, then immediately came back to his senses. Revealing a hideous grin, he said, "Pill battle? Looks like you don't have any self-awareness at all." Seeing Zhu Wen no longer make a move, Zhu Wenlin's courage returned. Flicking his finger, he similarly took out a pill furnace from his spirit ring. Zhu Wenlin's pill furnace was clearly much more exquisite compared to Zhu Wen's emperor pill furnace. The patterns on its surface were crisscrossed and complicated. One look, and it was clear that it was not an ordinary item. Zhou Guan and Feng Yuan, two people, exchanged a glance, both revealing odd looks. Back then, when Zhu Wen killed Ji Wuming, they only witnessed Zhu Wen's formations, Dao standards. Regarding Zhu Wen's alchemy Dao, they had no concept at all. They subconsciously thought that Zhu Wen was so young. For his formations Dao standards to reach the creation level was already very terrifying. His alchemy Dao could not possibly reach the corresponding height at the same time. After all, alchemy Dao and formations Dao were two completely different paths. Wanting to develop these two paths at the same time, one would surely need to expend too much time. Ji Wuming's alchemy way and array way had both reached the creation level. However, he had been studying these two paths for hundreds of thousands of years, while Zhu Wen had been born for less than 10,000 years. It was impossible for him to reach Ji Wuming's level. Buyangrong stood by one side, watching with cold eyes. He was very satisfied with Zhu Wenlin's way of doing things, giving him a reason to make Zhu Wen stay. "Since you all decided to have a pill battle, then I'll be the judge this time," Buyangrong said with a laugh. Zhu Wen did not even look at Buyangrong, but looked at Zhu Wenlin and said, "This pill battle was proposed by you. The criteria for winning and losing you decide. But my pill battle isn't for playing with you either. There has to be some stakes, right? Hoo-hoo, you rest assured you'll lose for sure. And if you lose, hand over your formation's Dao inheritance to me," Zhu Wenlin said with a cold smile. Zhu Wen's gaze narrowed, and he looked at the Buyangrong who was not far away. Looks like when he laid down the moon-chasing meteor array previously, Buyangrong saw through some inklings. This Zhu Wenlin wanting the formation's Dao inheritance on him should be proposed by Buyangrong. Thinking of this, Zhu Wen became slightly cautious. The alchemy array true record was of great importance. If the alchemy array Dao domain learned of it, it would not be a good thing for him. "What if you lose?" Zhu Wen asked faintly. Would I lose to you? It's important to have self-awareness. I don't think I see it in you. If I say you will lose, you will lose. As for winning, in my opinion, it won't happen to you," Zhu Wenlin said proudly. Zhu Wen looked at the blindly conceited Zhu Wenlin as if he was looking at an idiot. This guy was merely a Genesis tier alchemist. Yet he actually dared to declare that he would definitely win in an alchemy duel with him. "Senior Bu, this idiot probably didn't understand my words. Let me explain it to you. If I win, what benefits can I obtain?" Zhu Wen directly asked Buyangrong. Zhu Wenlin was angered until he nearly stomped his feet. This Zhuowen was too arrogant to actually declare that he was an idiot. This was undisguised contempt. Bu Yangrong knitted his brows unhappily. Even though Zhu Wenlin's words were inappropriate, he was his disciple after all. This Zhuowen, making impertinent remarks, was actually slapping his face sideways. You say it, what do you want? Bu Yangrong said coolly, I want your lifetime of alchemy and formations Dao research experience. Zhuowen said, Bu Yangrong's alchemy and formations Dao standards were both above Zhuowen's. Even though they were both just peak creation level, he already touched the threshold of heaven connecting level. His alchemy and formations Dao experience was of great help to Zhuowen. Bu Yangrong's brows furrowed, somewhat hesitant. This Zhuowen agreeing to an alchemy duel with Zhu Wenlin so easily made him somewhat uncertain about this boy's thoughts. His alchemy and formations Dao research experience was his lifetime's painstaking effort. It was priceless. Even Zhu Wenlin, this disciple that he was most proud of, had never seen it before. Teacher, believe me, this boy will lose without a doubt. Didn't you see the information from the Eastern Immortal Alliance? Zhu Wenlin's confident voice sounded in Bu Yangrong's mind. Bu Yangrong recalled the contents of the information that the Eastern Immortal Alliance passed to him. He had already confirmed that this boy did not display a strong alchemy standard, and his heart relaxed. I agree to your request, but the prerequisite is that you have to win. Let the alchemy duel begin now. The content of the alchemy duel this time is very simple. Refine the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine Pill, and the winner will be determined according to the quality of the final pill. I will provide 3 sets of the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine Pills medicinal herbs for each of you, so you have 3 chances. As Bu Yangrong spoke, he waved his sleeve and took out 6 sets of medicinal herbs. He placed 3 sets beside Zhu Wenlin, and the other 3 sets beside Zhuowen. Zhuowen silently looked at the 3 sets of medicinal herbs beside him, and his gaze became cold. He used his divine sense to check. 2 of the 3 sets of medicinal herbs had lost most of their medicinal efficacy, and the remaining set of medicinal herbs was still in good condition, but the quality was still extremely low. If one wanted to use these medicinal herbs to refine the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine Pill, the refinement would definitely fail. On the contrary, Zhu Wenlin's 3 sets of medicinal herbs were of extremely high quality. This was an unfair competition. Bu Yangrong did it perfectly. His 3 sets of medicinal herbs looked to be of high quality on the surface, but that was only on the surface. If not for Zhuowen's divine sense being nurtured by the Panga banner, which made it much sharper than the average divine sense, he might not have discovered Bu Yangrong's tricks. Let the alchemy duel begin now, Bu Yangrong ordered. Zhu Wenlin immediately ignited the divine fire, opened the furnace lid, and took out the first set of medicinal herbs. He threw the medicinal herbs into the furnace in an orderly manner, and began to refine the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine Pill. Zhuowen sat cross-legged beside the imperial pill furnace. He did not reveal the problem with the medicinal herbs that Bu Yangrong gave him. He knew that if he pointed it out, Bu Yangrong would immediately find an excuse to target him. Now, Zhuowen's only problem was that the 3 sets of medicinal herbs were incomplete. Even the cleverest housewife could not cook without rice. No matter how high his alchemy skills were, if the medicinal herbs were not good enough, he would not be able to refine a complete divine pill. He was a creation-grade alchemist. Refining the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine Pill was too easy for him. 1 set of medicinal herbs was enough. Now, what he needed to think about was to refine the 3 sets of medicinal herbs and fuse them into a complete set of medicinal herbs. This was the key to his victory. Thus, the people in the square saw a strange scene. Zhu Wenlin seriously tossed the medicinal ingredients into the cauldron, but Zhuowen didn't touch the cauldron at all. Instead, He used the divine flame to envelop the 3 sets of medicinal ingredients. Like a hotchpotch in a wok, he fused the 3 sets of medicinal ingredients together. What's wrong with this guy? Why is he fusing the 3 sets of medicinal herbs together instead of refining pills properly? As expected, this guy really doesn't know how to refine pills. Look, he doesn't even use a furnace to refine pills. This is making us laugh our heads off. In the square, many members of the Pill Array Immortal Alliance shook their heads in disappointment. The new alliance master that they were looking forward to really did not know anything about alchemy. Chapter 30-101. Opening the furnace. This guy already found out that there are problems with the 3 sets of ingredients. While everyone was mocking him, Buyongrong's eyes were solemn. Among the crowd, only he knew that Zhouwen's 3 sets of ingredients were flawed. If Zhouwen refined the pills directly, he would definitely fail all 3 times. Forget it. So what if this kid found out? Could it be that refining the 3 sets of ingredients together can make up for the flaws of the 3 sets of ingredients? Buyongrong shook his head inwardly. In his opinion, this Zhouwen was just wasting his effort. Time ticked by, and Zhu Wenlin's first batch of Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pills was about to be completed. A thick medicinal fragrance spread out from the gap of the furnace lid, spreading throughout the entire square. Zhu Wenlin is about to refine the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pill. Looks like this Zhouwen is going to lose. Zhou Guan could not help but shake his head and sigh softly as he smelled the medicinal fragrance in the square. Bang! Suddenly, when the medicinal fragrance reached its peak, a muffled sound rang out. Everyone was shocked to find that the furnace lid in front of Zhu Wenlin shook violently, and black smoke floated out from the lid. Without a doubt, Zhu Wenlin's first attempt at refining the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pill had failed. Zhu Wenlin's eyes revealed a trace of annoyance, but when he looked at Zhouwen, who was still refining the 3 sets of ingredients, his heart calmed down. Zhouwen's side had problems with the ingredients, and Buyongrong had already told him that this kid would definitely not be able to refine the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pill this time. Zhu Wenlin knew that as long as he could successfully refine the pill, no matter how bad the quality was, he would win. Just now he was too eager for quick success and wanted to refine a unique grade Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pill. He could not grasp the step of refining the pill properly, so he failed in the end. With his level, as long as his requirements were not too high, refining the most ordinary low-grade Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pill was more than enough. However, Zhu Wenlin was not in a hurry. He still had 2 chances. He planned to try refining a unique grade Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pill again. Zhu Wenlin lit the divine flame and threw the second set of ingredients into the furnace, continuing to refine the pill in an orderly manner. On Zhouwen's side, he was still smelting the 3 sets of herbs. It was very difficult for him to refine 3 batches of incomplete medicinal herbs into a complete set of medicinal herbs, because during the smelting process he had to use his divine sense to distinguish what the flaws of the 3 medicinal herbs were. After figuring out the flaws of the herbs, he still had to analyze the specific structure and composition of the 3 sets of herbs. He had to disassemble the structure and composition of the 3 sets of herbs into tiny particles. In the end, he had to rearrange and reassemble the separated substances to form a truly flawless medicinal herb. In this process, as long as there was a single mistake, everything would go wrong, and he would not have the chance to successfully refine the Fetal Heart True Fire Divine pill. At this moment, almost no one in the square was paying attention to Zhouwen. Zhouwen had long been defined as a trash who completely did not understand alchemy Tao in everyone's hearts. Not many people had the patience to watch the performance of a piece of trash. Zhu Wenlin's second refinement was coming to an end. This time, the medicinal fragrance from the furnace lid was even stronger. Even the spectators at the edge of the square could clearly smell the medicinal fragrance. Open! Zhu Wenlin's eyes lit up. He had a premonition that the refinement this time would be successful. He slapped the furnace lid and 12 light spots flew out from the furnace. Zhu Wenlin's palm reached into the void and took the 12 light spots into his palm. Then he opened his palm and there were 12 dimly glowing elixirs lying quietly on top of it. The elixirs emitted an extremely dense medicinal fragrance. However, like ice and snow, they began to melt. As the elixirs continued to melt, the medicinal fragrance became even stronger and even a little pungent. Zhu Wenlin watched as the elixirs in his hand completely evaporated into medicinal fragrance. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Disciple, your standard has not reached the level to refine the special grade fetus heart true fire divine pill. In the future, I will guide you on your flaws. However, now is the crucial moment of the alchemy battle. Don't drop the ball at this moment. Bu Yangrong's voice rang in Zhu Wenlin's mind, causing the latter to quiver. Teacher, don't worry. I won't mess up this third time. After Zhu Wenlin finished speaking, he began to refine the elixirs for the third time. This time, he did not refine the special grade fetus heart true fire divine pill. Instead, he chose the low-grade ones. Zhu Wenlin's technique was extremely skillful. Like moving clouds and flowing water, he threw the last set of herbs into the furnace. Time gradually passed. Zhu Wenlin's furnace emitted a medicinal fragrance once again. However, the medicinal fragrance this time was much fainter than the previous 2 times. Zhu Wenlin's eyes were solemn. At the last step, he slapped the furnace lid with both hands. The furnace lid opened and 12 elixirs flew out. Zhu Wenlin used a jade bottle to keep the 12 elixirs. Then he passed the jade bottle to Biangrong and looked at Zhuowen with ridicule. Zhuowen, do you know anything about alchemy Dao? How can anyone refine elixirs like you? Fusing 3 sets of the same herbs together. You're not here for the alchemy battle. You're here to be funny. Zhu Wenlin mocked Zhuowen wantonly. He had already determined that it was impossible for Zhuowen to successfully refine the elixir, so he mocked and humiliated him without any worries. Zhuowen ignored Zhu Wenlin. The smelting had already reached the final stage. Once the smelting was successful, he would be able to immediately start refining the elixir. Seeing that Zhuowen ignored him, Zhu Wenlin was very unhappy. He scolded loudly, Zhuowen, you have already lost. What are you still struggling for? Stop what you're doing and hand over the inheritance of the array Dao in your hands. Previously, Biangrong said that the winner of the pill battle is not determined by who finishes refining first, but by the one with the higher quality of the pill. Your dog eyes should be blind. Can't you see that I'm still refining the elixir? Since I'm not done yet, then the winner has not been decided yet. Zhuowen replied indifferently and continued to refine the herbs. He was not in a hurry, like an old monk meditating. Zhu Wenlin was so angry that his liver hurt, but he did not step forward to attack Zhuowen. Even though he was very angry, he was not an idiot. Previously, Biangrong had indeed set such a rule. If he were to make a move, it would be equivalent to slapping his teacher's face. Biangrong looked on coldly from the sidelines. He was also very curious as to how this Zhuowen was going to use 3 sets of incomplete herbs to refine a complete fetal heart true fire divine pill. Suddenly, Zhuowen stopped what he was doing. His eyes revealed a trace of joy. In the divine fire in his hands, the 3 sets of herbs had already completely melted into a slightly turbid medicinal liquid. It was simply impossible to tell that this medicinal liquid had not melted yet. Bang! Zhuowen slammed the lid of the Emperor Pill cauldron open and poured the turbid medicinal liquid into the cauldron. At the same time, he ignited his divine fire and officially started refining the elixir. This Zhuowen is finally starting to use the pill furnace. However, can that paste of medicinal liquid really refine the fetal heart true fire divine pill? Everyone's eyes lit up when they saw Zhuowen's actions. However, they quickly expressed their doubts in their hearts. This Zhuowen's alchemy standard was really too strange. After all, this guy's previous actions of refining the elixir were simply too strange. Chapter 3105. Riddles. After the black liquid had gathered on the surface of the silver-gray iron tree, it formed a huge ball of liquid. This ball of liquid quickly wriggled and finally turned into a huge black lion. The black lion was too big. Its body was thousands of feet long and 300 feet tall. Its surface looked like it was made of black iron and was densely covered with patterns. If this black lion was not moving its body, it would definitely be a perfect black iron sculpture. Roar! The black lion stretched its back and roared towards the sky. Its voice was like a thunderclap as it resounded and swept up a strange black wind. Zhuowen continued to retreat. After retreating to a safe distance, he looked at the black iron lion with a serious expression. The area below his waist had completely disappeared, but the wound had stopped bleeding and was no longer bleeding. The silver-gray iron tree was not an ordinary object. The large mouth that it had just manifested had a special power and was extremely destructive. Although Zhuowen's recovery was terrifying, it was restrained. It would take some time for him to completely recover. At the same time, Zhuowen saw the black box that was under the silver-gray iron tree on the black iron lion's neck. The black box hung under the lion's neck like an ornament. After the black iron lion appeared, it quietly stood on the meteorite belt. Its pitch-black eyes fell on the distant Zhuowen with curiosity. It did not directly attack Zhuowen. Instead, it quietly observed as if it had encountered something new. Zhuowen's muscles tensed. If the black iron lion suddenly attacked, he would not hesitate to use his trump card. The black iron lion's aura was terrifying, but it would not be so easy to kill him on the spot. A human? Why have you come to the black iron forbidden zone? The black iron lion suddenly spoke. Its voice was a little childish, like that of a child. I have guarded this place for countless years. Very few humans have entered the black iron forbidden zone. Even if they did, they entered by mistake. But they all lost a bet with me, so I ate them. You don't look like you entered by mistake. Did you come here specifically to make a bet with me? When the black steel lion mentioned the bet, its tone was obviously much more cheerful. It was obvious that this beast liked to gamble. Thinking of this, Zhuowen's eyes were filled with a strange look. He had seen many people who liked to gamble, but this was the first time he had seen a lion who liked to gamble. Although he didn't really understand what kind of place this so-called black iron forbidden zone was, he could tell from the lion's mouth that this place should be able to enter the prehistoric heaven realm. However, passing through this place was not without a price. One had to make a bet with the lion, and the loser would be treated as food. The winner should be able to enter the great desolate heaven realm through the black box on the lion's neck. The saintess of the Phoenix people tricked me again. Zhuowen furrowed his brows. Before coming here, he had repeatedly asked about the dangers of this place. The saintess of the Phoenix people only told him some information about the black iron rats and assured him that this forbidden area was not too dangerous. Now, it seemed that he had been tricked. I want to ask, is there a secret passage to the great desolate heaven realm here? Zhuowen asked the black iron lion in front of him as he recovered his broken lower body. The black iron lion was not in a hurry to attack. It was obvious that it wanted to make a bet with him. He could use this time to recover his broken body. The black iron lion bared its teeth, as if it was laughing, and said, "Yes, my black box can directly teleport you into the great desolate heaven realm. But I can only guarantee that you will be able to enter the range of the great desolate heaven realm. As for the exact location, I'm afraid I can't guarantee. Of course, if you want me to teleport, there are conditions. That is, to make a bet with me, and you have to win against me." Zhuowen was speechless as he looked at the black iron lion in front of him. This guy was too good at gambling. He kept talking about the word bet. "Tell me, what do you want to bet?" Zhuowen was helpless. He knew that if he wanted to enter the great desolate heaven realm, He could only make a bet with this lion. Seeing that Zhuowen had agreed to make a bet with it, the black iron lion rubbed its hands excitedly. Its big black eyes were filled with joy. It's very simple to make a bet with me. My favorite thing is to guess riddles. If I say 10,000 riddles, as long as you can guess them all, then it's my loss. Isn't it very simple? The black iron lion chuckled. Zhuowen rolled his eyes. Looking at the human-like black iron lion in front of him, he cursed in his heart. This lion was playing with him, right? 10,000 riddles. Was this guy sure he wasn't joking? Your expression doesn't look right. Do you think that 10,000 riddles are too few? But even if you think it's too few, it's useless. I've only mastered 10,000 riddles. So far. I will collect more in the future. This time, I will guess 10,000 riddles. Consider it a bargain for you. The black iron lion said casually. Zhuowen felt a little helpless. This black iron lion was too weird. It actually used guessing riddles as a bet. This really made him drop his glasses. However, Zhuowen didn't plan to back down. When he was on Earth in his previous life, there was an explosion of information on the internet. He had seen a lot of information, and he was even more interested in things like riddles and problem solving. He knew the core of the riddle. Since he had mastered the core of the riddle, it wasn't difficult to guess the answer. Then I will give you the question now. This first question is a bit difficult. It might be a bit difficult for you. Little fatty, wearing hemp clothes, red shirt, white belly hiding in a shell. It's a plant. After the black iron lion finished the riddle, its eyes revealed a proud expression, as if it was showing off that the riddle it said was indeed very difficult. However, Zhuowen revealed a strange expression. This riddle was simply an insult to his intelligence. This was basically a riddle for children back on Earth in his previous life. You can't guess it right. If you can't guess it right, then you will have to accept the punishment. I will swallow you without any pain. The black iron lion lay on the meteorite pile and laughed proudly. Peanuts, Zhuowen said indifferently. Jie, you actually guessed it right. You are the first person to be able to answer the riddle quickly. I can't underestimate you. The black iron lion was stunned and immediately revealed a dignified expression, as if it had met a powerful opponent. Zhuowen was a little speechless. His heart was crumbling. How was the riddle that the lion said difficult? It was simply a child's play. This guy actually praised him without blushing at all, as if Zhuowen had solved a difficult riddle. These two small boats are really capable. They carry people during the day and dock at night. Hint, it's a daily necklace. Shoes. It looks like a small palm. Countless. When the spring breeze blows, it's green. When the autumn breeze blows, it's red. No more hints, you answer. Maple leaf. A man and a lion, sitting opposite each other on the meteorite belt, asked and answered. Time passed quickly. This is my last riddle, and also my final question. If you can answer it, I admit defeat. The black iron lion's gaze was very dignified. It looked at Zhuowen and said in a low voice, Chapter 3106. News from the demon realm. The black iron lion cleared its throat and revealed the final riddle. It's either as heavy as Mount Tai or as light as a feather. I got this riddle from a human. Even I can't solve it. It's so hard. Let's see how you're going to answer it. Zhuowen had a strange expression on his face. Is this riddle very difficult? The black iron lion blinked and nodded solemnly. This last riddle was not difficult for Zhuowen because this riddle was a lantern riddle from his previous life, and it was one that he had seen before. You can't answer it, right? The black iron lion was very pleased with itself. This human had answered every riddle that it had mentioned, and this made it feel very embarrassed. Lion, can I ask you a question before I answer the riddle? Zhuowen asked. The black iron lion was enraged. Who are you calling a lion? I'm the revered Black King. Call me the Black King, okay? All right. Black King, can I ask you a question before I answer the riddle? Zhuowen asked again, helplessly. No, the Black King said mockingly, unless you can answer this last riddle. But looking at you, I don't think you can answer it. Haha, I knew it. My final riddle is too difficult. The person who can answer it hasn't been born yet. The Black King laughed heartily. It was very pleased with itself, and it twisted its huge body as if it was dancing. Oh, I got it. This riddle is actually not very difficult. The answer to the riddle should be impudent. Now that I've answered it, I should be able to ask you a question. Zhuowen shrugged helplessly. The Black King, who was twisting its body, suddenly stiffened. It looked at Zhuowen as if it was looking at a ghost, as if it could not believe that this guy could answer the riddle just like that. You actually answered it? What a difficult riddle. The Black King felt as if its worldview had collapsed. Zhuowen coughed. He smiled and didn't say anything. If he said that this was a riddle from his previous life, as long as it was in his previous life and they had access to information on the internet, most people could easily solve this riddle using the internet. The Black King would probably be shocked to death. All right, now I can ask you a question. Zhuowen coughed dryly. The Black King's gaze was serious. It nodded and said, Human, what's your name? You can solve my final riddle, so you deserve my respect. If you have any other questions, you can ask me. My name is Zhuowen. The question I want to ask is very simple. How do you know so many puzzles? When the Black King raised the first riddle, Zhuowen had already suspected that this guy had been to Earth before. As he continued to answer this guy's riddles, he gradually realized that the riddles that the Black King came up with were basically riddles and lantern riddles that China had accumulated over the past 5,000 years. The Black King chuckled and said, I thought it was some kind of problem. So it's this. These riddles were given to me by some of the demons who are heading to the great desolate heaven realm. Of course, there are also some human stowaways who want to enter the great desolate heaven realm through me. They know my hobbies and will specially prepare some different riddles for me. That's how my riddles were accumulated. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, Humans and demons? Didn't they say that humans are not allowed to enter the great desolate heaven realm? There are actually human stowaways going to the great desolate heaven realm. The Black King smiled faintly and said, The great desolate heaven realm is mainly targeting the human race of the Xian-Mi heavenly realm. As long as the human race of the Xian-Mi heavenly realm enters the great desolate heaven realm, they will be easily recognized and attacked. But the human race of the demon realm is not. I heard that after the Eastern Emperor Tai unified the 8 heavenly realms, he called it the demon realm. Although many humans were demonized in the demon realm, there were still some human experts who survived. Dong Huang Tai did not kill these experts of the human tribe. Instead, he used the policy of conciliation to gather all of them for his use. Therefore, in the demon realm, the human tribe and the demon tribe have coexisted. Of course, although the human race of the demon realm possesses the bloodline of the human race, they do not call themselves humans. Instead, they call themselves half-demons. Furthermore, the demon realm and the great desolate heaven realm seem to have signed some kind of agreement. The demon race and half-demon race can both enter the periphery of the great desolate heaven realm. This is also why there are more and more stowaways. Furthermore, the more stowaways there are, the better it is for me. Those stowaways will often bring me some pretty good gadgets, and there's so many interesting riddles. Hee hee. Speaking of stowaways, this lion was beaming with joy. This fellow was full of praise for stowaways, although sometimes when he was in a bad mood, he would swallow some unlucky stowaways. However, this fellow generally had a welcoming attitude toward stowaways. He would only eat stowaways when he was in a bad mood. Under normal circumstances, he would not do so. Zhuowen, on the other hand, fell into deep thought. It seemed that the Eastern Emperor Tai was quite capable. Not only did he unify the 8 heavens into the demon realm, he also used such a conciliatory policy to appease the human race, causing the human race of the 8 heavens to have a sense of belonging to the demon realm. Furthermore, Zhuowen was certain that a portion of the stowaways came from Earth. After all, these riddles and riddles all came from Earth. Black King, I've won. You should have used your black box to teleport me into the great desolate heaven realm, Zhuowen said. The Black King looked at Zhuowen strangely and said, Zhuowen, you should be a human from the Xianmi heavenly realm, right? Do you know that the great desolate heaven realm and the Xianmi heavenly realm are enemies? With your identity, entering the Xianmi heavenly realm, you won't be as lucky as the humans in the demon realm to be protected. I will take care of this matter. Don't worry. Zhuowen smiled faintly. He did not tell the Black King that he had the bloodline of the Devourer King. As long as he entered the great desolate heaven realm, placed his original human body in the outside world, and then activated the bloodline of the Devourer King hidden in his doppelganger, the foreign races would naturally not notice anything strange. Seeing Zhuowen smile without saying anything, the Black King shrugged and did not say anything. He took the black box from his neck with his huge claw. He drew a drop of blood and dripped it on the black box. Immediately, the black box opened automatically. Inside the black box, there was a special flowing light of light and darkness that seemed to transcend time and space. Go in. After entering, you will see a path. Follow that path, and you will be able to enter the great desolate heaven realm. However, I must remind you that while walking on this path, you must not turn back. No matter what you hear, you must not turn back. You must remember. Chapter 3107, that the 3 pure, one Zhuowen, did not ask why. He knew that there must be some taboos involved. Even if he asked, the Black King would not tell him. Then I'll go in first. Zhuowen greeted the Black King and went into the black box. The black box closed again. The Black King looked helpless. He looked into the depths of the starry sky and said, Since he's someone you value, why did you let him enter that place? After the Black King finished speaking, something seemed to be squirming in the depths of the starry sky. Then a figure slowly appeared in front of the Black King. It was an old man in a loose robe. He had the demeanor of a transcendent being. He held a horsetail whisk in his right hand and smiled. Black King, can't you see the physique he cultivates? The old man's voice was serious. The Black King looked serious and said, I saw it the first time I saw him. He has Panga's aura. He has Panga's inheritance. This little guy is really lucky. The old man shook his head and said, You're wrong. Panga's inheritance is not something you can get with luck. Only with Panga's approval can you accept Panga's inheritance. You mean Panga chose this kid so he can get the inheritance? The Black King asked. It's all decided by the heavens. I think so. Otherwise, why can't we find anything after so many years? But this kid can get it so easily, the old man said. The Black King mocked. Don't you covet Panga's inheritance? He's the most powerful being in this starry sky. He's also the ancestor who gave birth to you and the 12 grand shamans. The old man smiled and said, I'm a part of Pangu. I can't inherit his inheritance. It's the same for the 12 grand shamans. It's just that the 12 grand shamans are more miserable than me. They were all killed when the chaos attacked last time. I was seriously injured and hid in the 8 heavens, waiting for my injuries to heal. The Black King was silent and said, So you think this kid is the key to fending off the next chaos attack? The old man said seriously, Not fending off the chaos attack, but the key to destroying it. The Black King frowned and said, 3 pure ones. Don't you think you've gone too far? It's not like you haven't seen the horror of chaos. It's impossible to get rid of it. It's like a wave. Year after year, there will be waves, but no one has ever been able to get rid of them. Have you forgotten Pangu? Back then, it was because of him that the primal chaos was chased away and didn't dare to invade our galaxy. If it weren't for the intervention of the experts of the ancient star system and the lightning punishment, would Pangu have died? The old man's expression was calm as he continued, It's the same this time. For countless years, Panga's inheritance has been wandering the outside world and has never been obtained by anyone. But this time it was obtained by this kid. It can't be a coincidence. I believe in Panga's choice. The Black King shook his head and smiled bitterly. Since you value him so much, why do you want me to exile him to the Slaughter Heavenly region? The Slaughter Heavenly Domain was the place where the great, desolate, Heavenly Domain imprisoned prisoners and captives for countless years. Its history is even longer than Xianmi Heavenly Domain. It is a terrifying place. That place is a place where there are no laws, no restrictions, and no rules. Only the size of your fist is everything there. You are the emperor above everyone. Moreover, that place doesn't have heavenly energy or heavenly law. There's no lack of experts there. I'm afraid Zhuowen won't be able to last long there. The old man's gaze was calm as he said indifferently, I know Zhuowen better than you. I have watched him grow up. There's a kind of tenacity in his character. He is like a blade of grass in the wind. You can destroy him, but you can't make him yield. At this point, the old man sized up the Black King in front of him seriously. The Black King immediately put up his guard and said, San Qing, what are you doing? Don't look at me with such ambiguous eyes. Let me tell you, I am a normal person. The old man held his forehead and said, Don't you like to bet? How about this? You and I can make a bet. Bet on what? The Black King was immediately energized when the bet was mentioned. Let's bet that this kid can last for 49 days in the massacre Heavenly Domain. If he can last for 49 days, it will be my win. If he can't, it will be my loss. The old man said indifferently. The Black King smiled proudly and said, This kid's cultivation is too weak. I don't think he can last for 49 days. I will bet with you. If I win, I want your revelation waste token. Don't worry if he can't last. I will teleport him to the primitive Heavenly Domain. The old man said indifferently, If he can last for 49 days, you will also have to teleport him to the primitive Heavenly Domain. Of course, if I win, I don't want anything. I want a favor from you. The Black King raised his eyebrows and looked at the old man deeply. He laughed and said, Then it's decided. This is a crystal ball to monitor the massacre Heavenly Domain. You can use this crystal ball to observe Zhuowen's every move in the massacre Heavenly Domain. The old man took the crystal ball. After thanking the Black King, he disappeared into the starry sky. The Black King, on the other hand, had once again transformed into a black iron forest. In the deepest part of the black iron forest, the silver-gray iron tree stood out like a crane among chickens. Under the tree, a black box appeared very inconspicuous. Zhuowen felt a wave of dizziness. Then he saw a world of light and darkness in front of him. In the sky of this world of light and darkness, there was a great path formed by light and darkness. It was like an unchanging bridge that connected to the other side. Zhuowen knew that this was the great path that the Black King had mentioned. Zhuowen jumped onto the great path and immediately felt a strong pressure crushing down on him, causing his body to sink. The moment Zhuowen entered the great path, he had already put his human body into the great world. Bang! Zhuowen's body erupted with crystalline light. His body was as resplendent as glass. His aura was like a ferocious beast that had awoken from a deep slumber, constantly rising and exploding. He quickly took a step forward and charged forward. Every step he took on the great path of light and darkness produced a dense and crisp sound, as if his bones were being crushed. This great path of light and darkness was extremely long. After running for nearly 2 hours, Zhuowen found that there was still no end to the great path in front of him. He couldn't see the other side at all. At this moment, a ghostly shrill scream came from behind Zhuowen's head. The sound was far and near at the same time. It was a little erratic. Zhuowen frowned. He wanted to turn around to see if something was following him.